Man, we might not be bored. Lord Jesus, what is going on today, bruh? This shit is cooked today, bruh. But I have good Wi-Fi. That's why I don't know why it's cooking myself. I don't know why it's getting cooked like this, bruh. But this one might be cooked. So I don't know why it's doing this shit, bruh. And he's gone again? Bro. Did it come back? Oh, I think it's back. Yeah, it's back. Alright. It looks like things are back to normal here. I don't. Boy, this shit is interesting. Oh, maybe not. It looks good right now, boy. I can't tell, man. Alright, looks like our shit is back to being normal here. Alright, let's finish this up. High speed, whatever this is some dirt, bro. This not good. I think this one's called Bakugo Battery. This is solid. This is solid. Sports. I'm not gonna say it's solid. You're either not gonna like the cast or you're gonna like the cast. Sports anime about baseball. It still has to show if it's gonna be good or not. We haven't seen a baseball match yet, but the cast of characters are gonna be definitely the defining factor whether if you like this or not. I would tell you to give it a chance and see if you like it. Spice and Wolf, I'm pretty sure most people have heard about Spice and Wolf. This is a high potential anime. I wouldn't say it's a have to watch because now everyone likes romance animes, but I think that's a pretty good one. Unnamed Memory, this is another good romance anime that if you like romance anime, I would definitely tell you to watch. This is a solid romance anime. It's very good, man. Um, Reincarnated with like a cheat skill or something. This is like I would tell you not even to consider it. It's nothing special. It's copy and paste what a lot of isekai animes have done, and it's an isekai cheat skill, that type of anime. I wouldn't even consider it. Now, if you like that type of thing, give it a chance. You might like it. Um, Bartender, Bard something. I forgot the name of this anime, but it's like the Glass of God Bartender. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. I think this is a high potential anime. This could be good. Try using OBS. Yeah, I actually might have to switch to OBS because I don't know. Streamlabs have been fucking straight dog water recently. Um, I think that's a good one that you should consider. It's a seinen, so it's not gonna be like on some shonen shit. It's more towards like an adult audience. But if you think you can get around the anime where it's about them making cocktails and alcohol, then you might fuck with this one. This one might fuck. You might fuck with this one. Now, Demon Slayer, I think this is in the same situation as My Hero. If you've caught up to it, if you're watching it, definitely give it a chance. Um, this season in particular is a training arc, so I don't think it's gonna be anything high potential or have to watch. But give it a chance to see if you fuck with this season. If not, hopefully the next season can get you back into it. But I don't think this season's gonna be that too bad. The first episode isn't out yet, so I can't tell you how it's going. But when it does come out, hopefully, I will have an opinion on it. But as for now, there's not really much to say about Demon Slayer. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it goes, what they do to try to make this interesting. But for spring 2024, this was a rough list because of what was going on with the stream. But this is exactly what I would tell you that you should watch. Um, at least give these a chance. These in the top three category and see how you feel about them. The top two, you know, you might like them, you might not. It's okay. But I think those top two ones are gonna be very good. Those top two rows are gonna be very good animes at the end of this season. But as far as spring 2024 goes, I think this is how it's really looking. At least for me, um, I know a lot of people don't even watch majority of animes that come out in the spring. They're only the ones that really catch people's attention. So most people probably won't even watch half of these. But I think if you're looking for something in spring, these are the ones that you should be considering. At least you should be considering it. But now that it looks like the stream is fucking actually properly not dying on itself, can get into some of these reactions hopefully without any problems. Let me be right back real quick. I got some pizza just came and I'm about to go grab some. I'm not gonna lie. Right back. All right. Kaiju number 8 might just be the best one this season. It's definitely gonna be good though. It's definitely gonna be Kaiju number 8 is gonna be good. If not the best, it's gonna be a very good anime. It's gonna go down considered being a good anime of this season. Alright. We got the anime that revived the dead genre.
Back in the 90s, it used to be one of the most popular character tropes. Delinquent. Back in the 90s, it used to be one of the most popular character trope, embodying a character who always gets into fights, skips school and is just a massive douchebag. But also someone that had a sense of loyalty to their friends and a strong sense of justice. From the 70s through the 90s, gangs in Japan became a much bigger thing, from rallying on the streets with their motorbikes to constantly getting into fights. Thanks to teenagers viewing that as something cool, characters like that started to appear a lot more frequently in anime, gaining huge popularity with characters like Yusuke from Yu Yu Hakusho or Onizuka from Great Teacher Onizuka. However,
this isn't a downer though. This is just like a trope of character. Oh, I almost dragged the video off the screen. I'm going to drag my face cam.
of tropes slowly but surely completely disappeared in anime, only showing up as a side character or just as comedic relief. There were some anime focusing on the theme that had the chance to become something massive like Tokyo Revengers or Butchigiri, but both of them received quite mixed reactions. However, this might change forever with the release of Windbreaker. This is the biggest anime of this season, thanks to its well-written characters and high-quality fights.
Why did you just lie? Windbreaker is not the biggest anime of this season.
Since it's literally one of the most searched anime. But is this just another fluke? Another spark that we will all forget about by next season? Or will we finally have a good delinquent anime? Windbreaker is about this guy called Sakura, who was seemingly hated by a lot of people. He doesn't know how to communicate, he constantly gets into fights, but no one even tries to help him or talk to him just because of how he looks. That made him not just hate others, but also himself, doubting every decision he makes, pushing everyone away, thinking that everyone wants the worst for him. Going into high school, he has completely moved away from that life. In this new city, he just started at Furin High School, which is not an ordinary high school at all. I just want to quote what the description of the anime says about it. A school of degenerates known only for their brawling strength. It's basically a school for—
Bro, when I tell you, like, this isn't even a school. I've heard the Windbreaker manga is really good. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it has a lot of potential. I mean, this anime literally wasted no time. Like, we're about to be what, episode 4, and we're about to have a series of fights. Like, if you're caught up, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But we're about to have a series of fights that if they're done well could go down as some good fights, you know?
For all the people that they just don't want to deal with anymore. Hell, it's not even a school. There aren't even teachers at all. What I found really cool about it though is that unlike in other delinquent anime, they are not the bad guys. They don't fight for territory, they don't harass locals, they don't attack people for no reason. They are here to defend the town and its people. Now Sakura doesn't give a fuck about that. He's only here to fight and get to the top. He doesn't want to deal with any of that other bullshit. Savior, hero, couldn't be him. At least that's what he wants to force upon himself. But every time someone is in danger, he jumps in to save them. Whether it's taking on 3 guys, facing a rival gang, he's in. But can he take on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 guys at the same time? In a fight. Maybe he
like
can.
that.
But what I love about him is that he actually tries. You see these other 2 delinquent main
did.
characters? What do they do every episode? They cry. Now what does Sakura do?
Look, let's not talk about Takemichi. He's a flop. If Takemichi was a good main character, people would like Tokyo Revengers.
Actually fights. In many shonen stories, main characters often end up in dangerous situations without choosing to be there, or just because they have some super strong power that now they are forced to use. In Windbreaker, Sakura is the exact opposite. He's cocky, believes he's better than anyone else, and can be an asshole, but he also doesn't fight for no reason. That's what a delinquent character is supposed to be, not this crybaby, never evolving type.
I mean, he does fight for no reason. He literally walks around saying, "You want to fight? Let's fight." He definitely fights for no reason. He definitely does that.
Dude, it's just so cool to see a competent main character for once. But let's be real, writing a decent shonen main character shouldn't be praised. It absolutely should be the minimum if you want your work to succeed.
Yeah, that's
While
true.
Sakura is weird, he isn't even the biggest weirdo in his own school. We have Nirei,
Takemichi be crying in most of his screen time. Yeah, let's not talk about that flopper.
who cannot stop yapping for a second. So, Wuzai perceives of an ancient Chinese spirit, and he's also...
レオナルド・ディカプリオだ。
There's also Hiragi, who cannot stop popping pills, black-haired Gojo, and the guy who would clearly suck the master's D. What initially made me watch the anime was how good it looked, but the reason why I kept watching it because of its amazing balance. While the idea itself is super simple and we've seen it many times before, the anime excels at what really matters. The characters are really lovable and they actually grow. Take Sakura for example. In the first episode, we immediately see Sakura struggling to keep hold of his own identity and who he is. When he arrived in this new city, he instantly assumed the same thing, that everyone would be afraid of him, that they would hate him. However, in episode 3, when he was able to land a hit on one of the strongest guy in the school, unexpectedly for him, he was praised.
お前すごいな。あの杉下に一撃食らわすなんて。
As soon as the others got closer to him, he instantly acted hostile out of his perception that he is indeed a bad person, that he's a master. But these people never thought of him like that. And you know what happened? He became aware of the fact that maybe he isn't what he expected himself to be. Maybe not yet accepting, but acknowledging that he's not a bad person. He actually grew as a delinquent character. That's insane. I also love the way how they
I
build
mean,
up all the other characters.
Can we talk like
Nirei is
they're not really delinquents? Like, you know, if you really think about it, they're not really delinquents. It's more like everyone else is and they're not. So
the one we know the most outside of Sakura, and is basically Zenitsu. A really loud and overly emotional yellow-haired character, but what I love about him is that he feels like a really realistic and just relatable character. When he was little, he was constantly bullied. However, a guy from Furin helped
he is not relatable. He is not relatable. Not to me. I don't find no relation to that motherfucker.
him, inspiring him to do the same thing, help the ones in need. If you would be placed in that world, you would be like him, weak and scared.
No,
but
no,
what I
I
found
wouldn't.
cool
No, I
about him
wouldn't.
is that this
No, I wouldn't. I would not be like him. I would not be weak and scary and crying every 2 seconds. That would not be me.
by being like that. He jumps in front of other people, he tries to help them, and doesn't just cries in a corner and hides. Another really cool thing is the dynamic of the gang. We are so used to seeing gangs as something bad, but the anime puts a spin on it, making them the good guys. They aren't smart, they aren't really good at anything, but they have a heart. They are there to support people, and the support isn't just through beating up others. It's also about helping the locals paint, talking to them, and simply being present in their uniforms. And I also love that the people around them actually exist. When a fight happens, there are people around. They are looking, they are hiding, they exist. When Sakura helps them out, they give him a bunch of stuff. It adds so much depth to the story, and I love that. Now, while it has a pretty good story and some really well written characters, what really elevates the anime is the production. Cloverwork is a studio known for their consistency when it comes to quality.
Good animation.
Every anime they produce is absolutely stunning, and that is also the case with Windbreaker. The animation is super crisp, the characters are constantly moving, the backgrounds are well detailed, and most importantly, the fights are insane. I really love the variety in the fighting. It's not just one swing and done. There are punches, kicks, headbutts, dodging. Everyone has their style, their own moves, and it's really cool. Additionally, I'm so impressed by the music. While it's usually not something that stands out for me, it has a really...
I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember a single song. I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember the opening of this show. I don't remember a single song out this show. It might be good. It might be good in the fact that like it just does what it has to do and you don't notice it. But it's not good in the fact that it's memorable songs. Like I don't remember a single thing. I don't even remember music playing in this. Watching a single episode. I'm not gonna lie.
Hype vibe. The anime is also stacked with some of the biggest voice actors. No matter whose name I click on, they all played some really famous characters. Also, the fanservice shots are absolutely insane. It's kinda hot to be fair, I guess. Overall, Windbreaker is one of the best anime of this season, deservingly so. It has good action, with a good mix of world building and character exploration. So far I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. If you want to see another anime that had insane animation from last season,
Hey,
click
let's
on
stop
this
doing
video.
that.
Also,
Let's stop doing that. Let's stop rating anime before they're over, please. There's no reason you should be giving this an 8.5 out of 10. When this dropped, there was 3 episodes. Let's stop doing that, alright? You don't do that, you make me happy. We don't need to be rating anime that's not done yet. But great video nonetheless. Another spring 2024 anime. We got Kaiju number 8 breaks every anime trope.
I admit it. I'm reaching Unk status. The worst part about getting older is you've started to see it all. And no, I'm not talking about the crackheads on every corner
Bro,
of the city.
can we talk about this? I've heard about this so much. Like a lot of this is just a thing that I hear so much. It's like, oh, you start like it makes sense, but like it just hasn't affected me yet. Like I've been watching anime for so long, and I feel like this should have affected me by now.
Although that's also
But it
part of
doesn't.
it. I mean the characters in fiction. The more shows you see, the more pattern recognition you start to gain. You could tell where the show's gonna go, who's the villain, and what
that's
the main
true.
character is gonna act like for the rest of the season. And while I'd like to think that I'm Aizen with some type of super genius brain, in reality people make what sells, so there's gonna be a lot of repetition. Of course that's not always the case, but there's demographics that must be sold to. Mainly teens and young adults looking for some good fiction, even if it's not the most original. And honestly, I get it. As someone who's in school for business, as much as I hate it, I have
We got some leaks that very good animators going to be working on Windbreaker. If it's true, then we're going to be eating well. Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
learned tons of jobs, salaries, and all that boring but important stuff rely on the work being sold. And obscure works won't always guarantee that, and some companies can't take that risk. But with all of that being said and hearing my perspective, y'all could understand how surprised I was to see a 32-year-old janitor was the protagonist of this anime.
Was it really that crazy? Like, maybe it's just because I'm, like, old. But it's like when something new comes around, this is literally all you hear about. Like, you know, I mean, if this is all you have to do for people to praise you for breaking anime tropes, then, like, I don't see why people don't do this more. I've literally seen, like, 15 different things praising Kaiju number 8 for their main character being 32. Like, are we serious? I mean, I get it. Most shonen like they're young, so you know. But it's like, come on, are we serious?
いです。まだ32です。
おじさんじゃん。
Oh, my video.
まあそうですね。
Kaiju number 8 is about a man who could not fulfill his childhood dreams. He wanted to become a sweeper who takes care of the kaijus that hurt people and destroy cities like his own one as a kid. But for some reason he couldn't. He shot for the stars and ended up as
He
a
was
janitor
weak.
for the sweepers. But after a young recruit refuels his passion, he gets back on his feet and tries one last time to become the sweeper that his child self always dreamed of. And then immediately gets attacked by 2 kaijus, and the second one turns him into a monster.
Come on, man, I can't have shit in this house!
Luckily, he can turn back into his normal self, but it leaves us to question where exactly he'll go from here. And how would his sweeper childhood friend react to this insane transformation? I know, I praise originality, but it is clearly inspired. Kafka has this errand transformation, and it's pretty funny instead of dramatic. I think even they knew that we've seen it before. But in general, it doesn't try to hide its inspiration, it just offers a different take on it. Even the childhood friend slash the love interest trope is used in a much more interesting way.
Wait. Hold on. Let me hear that again, bro. I've literally never heard somebody say this ever in my life, bro. And congrats on you for saying this. You could have been just like everybody else, but you said something different. Let's hear this back again.
But in general, it doesn't try to hide its inspiration, it just offers a different take on it. Even the childhood friend slash the love interest.
You heard that? It doesn't try to hide its inspiration. It just takes a different take on it. If everyone just said that about anime, we will be so much happier. Black Clover, you know what they say? Oh my god, it's just a straight up copy. It doesn't even try to hide it. Like, if y'all just said this for every anime, you know, we will be just so much happier, bruh. So much happier.
Trope is used in a much more interesting way than usual. And the most original thing is also the most touching. There's some real heart put into this. Of course, there's the obviously amazing animation, but I'm also talking about the story of Kafka himself and what his age and career reflects. I know I could, and I'm sure a lot of other people could relate to the experience of having that one childhood dream. Before you learn about the world's barriers, anything seems possible. But of course, there's circumstances and other things you take into account as you grow older, and suddenly you can't be an astronaut because you have to do some stupid math with a bunch of letters and a teacher who has a stupid accent.
No more than one unmarketable comment.
He goes by the name Anti-Cash, and he's the first person to go straight into becoming an astronaut with no school at all. Failure is part of life, but what sucks is sometimes you have to let go of a dream. There are age limits on things, like having a sports dream. You start to get older and less time to chase that passion, and now you're forced to find a new one. I went through and I'm currently going through exactly this. As a former athlete who now talks about anime 24/7, I've had quite the rediscovery. Also, going to school with people who've accomplished the things that I used to want to do is kinda tough to deal with. On the one side, I'm proud of them for achieving something I know is extremely difficult. And on the other side, you get this type of imposter syndrome, questioning why it wasn't you and how you ended up like this.
Okay.
Kafka is...
It's not that deep. All right. Look, I understand we wanna draw comparisons and talk about relatability. It's not that deep.
super relatable, and maybe it's just because I'm reaching Unk status, but
no, you're just reaching.
this is the protagonist that I'd want to watch. In my eyes, he is a real hero. I already kind of discussed this in my previous video, but it flopped. And I also talked about it in the video before that, which also flopped.
Oh, come on, man, I can't have shit!
But some modern issues...
It happens, bro. Not everything can be a hit. Sometimes you're gonna have them, you know, them bad videos, them low view videos, it happens, man. Just gotta keep going.
Anime, and the ones that tend to pop up is that they are way too serious. And don't get me wrong, I love my serious works. As an Attack on Titan fan, I can appreciate works that barely have any humor. But also as a One Piece fan, I can admit that humor just works sometimes. There's a way to balance the two, and it's not easy, but it's pretty important. Because humor is what connects all of us, despite our differences.
Has he
I grew up
speaking with
inspired by
experience?
these serious works.
Are you calling me old? Are you calling me old, motherfucker?
being mysterious and quiet was the way to go. But in reality, life is more fun just living a little, encouraging humor and jokes, because even in this serious world, jokes help us find the fun in it. As for the fictional works, just because there's jokes doesn't mean it can't be taken serious. And I think that's something people held in the past, but we're finally starting to get over it. And with that, Kaiju number 8 is really good so far. It's got humor, an outro by One Republic, and a 30-year-old protagonist. Need I say more?
Fuck that
If
outro.
they keep up with
We want to talk about the intro.
the right direction, these episodes have been going in. I got high hopes. And maybe reaching Unk status isn't so bad after all.
I'm 56 years old.
Damn!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yo, is 21 really Unk status?
No,
'Cause
we're not old, bro. We're not old, bro. Don't let these people make us look like we're old, bro. We haven't even reached our prime yet. We're young 21-year-old adults.
I feel like it's not. I feel like that's still young. That aside, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed Kaiju number 8. I've been hearing about it for a while from manga readers, but now that it's finally animated, I've been enjoying it. And I'm glad that there's this new wave of humor because, you know, we had that dark
You know what, LJ? I was about to say something crazy, man. Cope harder, bro. Stop it, bro.
trio back then, which I talked about, and it was getting a bit too dark. I'm also hearing really bad things about JJK's manga, which is just some terrible news, but hopefully, you know, they could recover. Hopefully they could pick up from
Man
these
pulled
newer
up a-
anime because they're
a
funny.
tizzy
Go-Go
video.
Loser Rangers or Ranger Reject is also funny, so they need to pick up from that, you know, balance humor, balance the plot. Hopefully they figure that out. But yeah, I'm enjoying Kaiju number 8 right now. Yo, watch Shogun if you guys watch any regular.
Okay, this Heat Shogun, but it looks like he's not even talking about what's the name anymore. Good video anymore. I've talked about Shogun a million times. I'll talk about that shit again. I'll talk about Shogun 10 years. Well, I'll talk about Shogun whenever the fuck I feel like it. What were you gonna say? Don't worry about it, LJ. Don't worry about it. Anyway, 10 out of 10 show right here, bruh. Elite show, elite 10 episodes. And all of them hoes are elite. Good ending. Great show. If you haven't seen Shogun, bro, you gotta tap in, bro. That shit is elite, bro. That shit is something crazy, bro. Alright, next up. We got the most overrated main character. Now, with this last Classroom of the Elite season, it feel like Classroom of the Elite has gotten nothing but strays at his dome top, just straight bullets at his dome. So I hate to see another bullet for my main man Anakoji, but let's see what they're talking about, bruh.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at that guy. He's so cool. I wonder what he's thinking about.
The hardest
Bro,
This
y'all
part
be
about
losing me
writing
with
a
these fucking
really smart
intros.
character is that you basically have to be a super genius yourself. Because if you want to convince an audience that your character is super cool and smart, then you have to show them being super cool and smart. And this has worked out for some characters, like Yagami, Aizen, L, Shikamaru. These are all smart characters that have actually done smart things. So let's say you had
So let's not play this out like Anakoji hasn't done anything smart. Cause this will be a quick video. I could debunk this in 2 minutes.
to write a super smart character.
Me?
Yeah, you have to make someone that is smarter than the majority of most people in the world. Meaning you have to be smarter than most people in the world. Do you think you can do that? Yeah, you can't, can you? Cause you're just a dumb ass. Oh, sorry. But today, we have the new gen equivalent to all those smart guys, and his name is Anakoji from Classroom of the Elite. He may look like a regular guy, but in reality, he's just so much better than everyone else. It doesn't matter how you try to compare yourself, you'll never be him. Everyone else in the world beneath.
All right, this look. We're a minute 23 seconds in, and this is the biggest heap of cringe I've seen in a long time, bruh. Please don't let this be the whole set. Don't let this be the whole 8 minutes, bro. Please, for the love of God.
Him, side characters, loser. Today though, I'm here to tell you that this guy is a fraud. Let's take one of his super badass scenes, right? Look, I'm just gonna expose how lame this dude actually is. So there's this like court thing going on, right? Because of a fight going on in school. Mind you, there's only the student council here. No actual teachers or anything, which is great. There's only the student council here. No actual teachers or anything.
Okay. He put it there. He said, never mind, there were teachers. Because I was about to Baker shit. I'm glad you at least realized how stupid you sound.
Which is great. That's fine. Anyway, Ayana Koji's like, I gotta prove my classmate's innocence. So him and girl number 1, because he's just got a lot of girls. Because he's just so hot. Him and Horikita just corner these dudes and it's like, hey, you know our classmate didn't beat you up. Why are you trying to lie here, huh? And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. It's not like there are any security cameras to catch us. And so Ayana Koji is like, you sure about that? And then he reveals that there was a camera.
What a twist!
Meaning these guys faking getting beat up was caught on video. And so they successfully get the guys to back off and withdraw the report. But then later on, Ayana Koji reveals how he manipulated everyone like a chess piece. It turns out, get ready, that he actually bought fake security cameras and crawled up the walls like Spider-Man and put the cameras there to trick them. What? This is so stupid. That was...
See, this is what happens when stupid people make videos. Like, we're not gonna act like that's not a smart thing to do. He literally made them confess on themselves. Like, that was a pretty smart thing to do. And you're trying to make it seem like that was fucking dumb. Like, just say you don't like him, bruh. I will be perfectly okay with you just saying, I don't like Ayana Koji, bruh. And then whatever bullshit reasons you have for that, that's okay. But we're not going to sit here and play Ayana Koji like he's not a smart main character. Let's not do that, bruh. Let's not do that. And if you don't talk about his best feat in the show, I'm definitely going to get on your ass.
This supposed master plan. That was the most basic fucking plan I've ever heard of in my life. I'm gonna lose my...
So, hold on. So now I got a question. So, do you have to literally make a master plan for something to be smart? Do you have to come up with a 50 scheme ass plan for it to be smart? No, you don't. It could be a simple thing. Whether it's smart or not is what happens, is the outcome, brother. So this logic already does not make sense. I'm really about to bake your shit.
My mind. It's not like this is the only instance of this happening too. One of the main problems in the show is how much people love gassing up Ayana Koji, even when it's not necessary. A good example is the chess match at the end of season 3. Ayana Koji and Arisu are meant to be like the two smartest characters in this show. So when they have a chess match, you're expecting some wild, wicked plays, right? Just some of...
Yeah, and this is, look, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm gonna tell you right now. There is a video on YouTube that talks about this chess match. And I watched it because I got a problem, right? I wanted to see how smart the chess match was because I'm not smart enough to know what was going on in that fucking chess match. So I watched the video to see how that chess match was. And if you believe it or not, it was actually a smart chess match. But he's gonna make it to seem like they were just fucking playing regular chess. That's what he's gonna do.
The most mind-boggling shit you've ever heard of. Now the thing is, I know jack about chess. I don't know anything that goes on in that sport. So when I watched this game, I was like, you know what? Okay, maybe they are playing at a really high level, and I just can't tell. But then I see this video pop up in my recommended section on YouTube talking about this chess match. It's a really good video, by the way. Please go check it out. I'll have the video in the description. The guy in the video kind of goes off in exposing just how low of a level these characters are actually playing at. Again, I don't really know anything about chess, but the guy said that these two were playing at a 1600 level when the max level is at 2800. Now
Nah, that guy's a hater. There's another video. There's another video, because that's not the one I watched. I'll tell you that.
I'm not the best at math, but it seems like they suck. This is what I mean when I say it's hard to write a story about really smart characters, because sometimes a person's own
And then, look, and then we're not even going to talk about, he's not even going to talk about the factor that the principal was changing the moves that Anakoji was making. So, of course, like, that shit's going to seem different than what actually was going on, because Anakoji moves wasn't actually what was happening if you were paying attention to the story, you know?
mind has its limits. Now, here's the thing. I'm about to let you guys on a little secret. No. Come closer. Come here. I like Classroom of the Elite.
But weren't you just making fun of
I mean, by this logic,
Yeah.
you can call damn near every smart character dumb. You can call Light dumb. You can call Lelouch dumb. You could literally call every main character dumb. They have all made the craziest, stupidest mistakes in their show. Literally every single one of them. What are we talking about? This nigga Light literally killed somebody on TV just because he was provoking them. What dumb motherfucker would do that? Right? What dumb motherfucker would do that? Right? Lelouch literally kills his own goddamn sister because he's a fucking stupid retard. She literally tells him how he literally knows how his Gios works, and he proceeds to still use it on her and tells her to kill herself. Like, who does that shit? A dumb motherfucker. That's what you would think, right? But these go down as some of the smartest characters in the show. 1600 Elo game of chess is still very hard, dude. You can easily become a master. I'm speaking with experience.
I know. I made it seem
He's
like
hating,
I
right?
hated the show.
He's
and
hating.
I hated Ayanokoji. But I had to hit you guys with the plot twist, you know? Actually, I kind of did this because I was kind of curious to see if there would be a big ratio between people who would comment before finishing the video and after finishing the video. Because I just kind of wanted to see if I would get comments like,
How dare you? Ayanokoji is the smartest character ever. He solos your favorite character.
Alright, nobody said that. Nobody said that.
I wanna
Nobody
suck
said that.
his dick.
But the thing is, I do like Ayanokoji. He genuinely is one of the more interesting protagonists I've seen in a while. I just wanted to expose a few moments that don't necessarily reflect how cool he's supposed to be.
So like I just said, we could do that for every main character. Cause Light got more moments than Anakoji. Lelouch, don't even get me started on fucking Lelouch. That motherfucker got the most moments. We could do that for every smart main character. That ass.
But I'd be straight up lying if I said that some of the shit he does is not impressive. Because
Okay.
they are. Well, actually, I don't know if I'd call them impressive instead of straight up psychopathic. And I don't mean that in the metaphorical sense. In this case, I mean it in the literal and medical sense. This dude Ayanokoji collects his classmates like Pokemon, right? Which is fine, whatever. Do what you gotta do. But the way he does it is insane. Look at this character. She seems super sweet and nice, right? Oh, I hope nothing bad happens to her. He tells her to spread his legs. What?
Okay, maybe backtrack, because there's probably some important context we need, right?
Oh, sure, because that's gonna make it any better. So this girl was getting beat up, right?
So like, why did we just change what this video was about? Why did we just do that? You better stand 10 toes, bro. Don't tell me that you like Anakoji after you just tried to fry him.
Okay.
So Ayanokoji comes to the scene, right? What do you think he does?
Does he save her?
He just watches. And when the girls finally leave her alone, he goes down to her and instead of helping her up, does this. He threatens her and tells her to spread her legs.
So there was no context?
Oh, there was. See, it turns out the girls who hated this girl only found a way to corner her because Ayanokoji set the whole thing up.
But why?
Oh, I'll tell you why. It's because Ayanokoji taught this to her as a teaching moment. He made her reveal to herself that she's just a parasite that hangs on to other people because she longs for someone to protect her. He made her realize that she's so scared of getting hurt that she would have allowed herself to succumb under him. The entire reason he did this was to give her an offer. An offer she couldn't really refuse. He would protect her. In exchange, she would also do things for him.
Oh, hell no!
He made this poor girl endure all this trauma so that he could manipulate her
She
into
was already getting bullied, bruh. She was already getting bullied, bruh. He's gassing her just a little bit.
being his puppet. Aina Koji is seen as the new badass face of anime. But I'm not entirely
Nigga, in what universe? In what universe is Aina Koji the face of anime, bro? Because we don't live in the same universe, buddy. This motherfucker is far from being the face of anime.
sure if that's a good thing. Like, come on, guys. Maybe put your faith in a nicer character. Maybe it's time we gave Deku a second chance. I hear he's also smart. Right, guys? Guys?
Oh my god, I want him so bad. I don't know if I want to be him or be with him. He can manipulate me as much as he wants. He's literally me.
We're so done for. Hey guys, me from the
I don't know
CTV.
about this one, bro. I don't know about this video, bro. I don't know about this one. Alright, time for JJK Glaze. The rise and rise of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen is a force to be reckoned with. If you haven't heard of Jujutsu Kaisen, chances are you've been living under a rock.
Yep,
The
you
now
have been.
world-renowned manga series premiered in Weekly Shonen Jump on March 5th, 2018. And since then, it has become a monster in the world of anime and manga. To the point that even well-known
cap.
celebrities
Let's just say that's a little cap. Look, JJK was popular, right? But it wasn't nowhere close as popular as it was before that anime came out. The anime is what propelled JJK into the limelight. It was cool. It was doing very good before the anime, but it wasn't the Shonen Jump debut. It was anime episode #1. That's what threw it into the limelight.
like Usher, Megan Thee Stallion, Bruno Mars, and the Duolingo Owl are talking about it. The Duolingo Owl, people! I mean,
I'm here for the glazing. I'm a tier 1 me rider, LJ7. Y'all clip that, bruh. He said it,
how
not
you know
me.
you made it. Really though, the sheer success of Jujutsu Kaisen is pretty daunting, and nowhere do I feel this is probably more true than for JJK's author, Gege Akutami. Let's rewind to the mid-2000s. We find a young Gege sitting at home reading an issue of Weekly Shonen Jump that he stole from his older brother. It was here that the young Gege would be exposed to the first manga he would ever read. That manga being Tite Kubo's Bleach.
Goated.
Gege has cited many inspirations for his work, namely Hunter x Hunter and Neon Genesis Evangelion. But Bleach in particular seems to be the one that has nestled into his very soul.
When I was in 4th grade, my older brother would always buy Weekly Shonen Jump. However, he never let me read the issues he bought since he was very possessive of his belongings.
Damn,
One day, when
that's an
he
L brother.
wasn't around, I secretly opened an issue and it happened to be the one Bleach debuted in. The first chapter was so impressive. It made me realize just how incredible mangaka are. I've been hooked ever since.
Gege would continue reading manga throughout his early years, before finally finding himself within Shonen Jump itself. It was here that he would write a one-off manga called Tokyo Metropolitan Curse Technical School, the story of a student named Yuta Okotsu as he finds his place amongst a group of students at Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School. And this probably sounds very familiar to all of you because this story would later be renamed Jujutsu Kaisen 0. That's right, this story starting with Yuta actually came first, kind of making Yuta the original protagonist.
That was not a surprise to nobody. Anybody was surprised by this? I thought this was like basic knowledge.
Of JJK, though obviously this would change when Jujutsu Kaisen finally debuted in 2018. From the offset, Jujutsu Kaisen makes it clear that it is a tried and true shonen action manga, and wears its influences on its sleeves for all to see. I mean, when you read the first few chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen, it just screams Bleach. Kid with a
See, I like how these people are saying, I like for every anime every popular anime that I'm watching, that I'm watching these videos on, it shows its influences, right? But if I click on a Black Clover video and I hear it copied, I'm about to lose something, bruh. Cause you see how easy it is to say it shows its influences and it's not perceived as a negative thing. But when you sit here and say it copies something, then it looks it's a negative connotation. Like, stop doing that shit, bruh.
Relatively ordinary life, goes to school, hangs out with friends, then is suddenly thrust into the realm of the paranormal and otherworldly. I guess you could call it derivative, but at the same time, I really do feel like Jujutsu Kaisen is able to make itself stand out despite its obvious influences. And while Jujutsu Kaisen wasn't a massive breakout phenomenon when it first debuted, it did have fairly good sales, meaning that it had all the potential in the world to do well. And so much of this potential lied in the characters themselves. At this point, it is an honored shonen tradition to put in as many characters into your story as possible. And Jujutsu Kaisen is no exception. The first part of Jujutsu Kaisen's story is dedicated heavily to setting up the world, the narrative, and of course the characters. And since such a good chunk of the story is dedicated to setting things,
You see what he said? But, you know, a lot of people like to say that JJK, there's no character development. They don't develop their characters, man. Or the story. That's what a lot of JJK haters like to say.
this also means that the story has a lot of time to develop and make these characters likable. However, it goes deeper than that, because while many of Jujutsu Kaisen's characters are enjoyable, they're also very distinct from one another. Every character feels like their own unique individual, complete with their own history, beliefs, motives, and personalities. Really, there's a character for any person to get attached to, and they're all developed and fleshed out well enough to where they're easy to get attached to. Something I'm
Who are y'all attached to in JJK? Because personally, I'm not attached to a single motherfucker in this goddamn universe. Not a single motherfucker do I find relatable in this goddamn universe. Not a single one. But do I like the characters? Absolutely. I love the characters in the show.
Really fond of when it comes to JJK is that despite the fantastical elements of the story, the characters still interact with each other in a way that makes them feel so grounded. Like, just look at the bad guys from the early parts of Jujutsu Kaisen's story. It would be so easy to just put them in some kind of dark, evil lair where they can discuss all of their evil plans. But nah, typically when you see them discussing their plans, they're hanging out at the beach or going on swimming trips or just honest to God playing board games.
Alright, Gato, pay up. What's the matter, Chelsea? Come on.
Like, come on, that's great. So characters are incredibly important for making a manga that people want to read, obviously. And for the most part, this is something.
I mean, I just want to say something. Do we realize that them being in a cave in the middle of Tokyo is the strangest thing ever? The setting of this is literally Tokyo. Like, maybe if you would have said, like, them being in, like, a dark basement, you would have had a point. But a cave, like, are we serious? Like, the reason why that shit makes sense for fucking Naruto is because, nigga, they live in a fucking...
JJK does very well, and therefore was able to cultivate a fan base in its early days. However, having a devout fan base and being a massive series that can outsell One Piece are not exactly the same thing. So then, what exactly was it that caused JJK's sudden surge of success that it's still experiencing today? 3 words. First season anime.
No. Nope. First episode of the anime. That's what it is.
The Jujutsu Kaisen anime is what truly made JJK a household name. Here, let me show you a chart real quick.
Yep,
Credit
it's a
goes
fact,
to
though.
Josuke on Twitter, who seems to
I
have
said
collected
that.
this data from the JJK PR official Twitter account. Links in the description below. Here we can see that as JJK continues on from its debut, it slowly but surely garners more and more readers over time, though its individual physical volume sales seem to stay below 250,000 units sold for most of its early lifespan. However, once we reach the first season in 2020, there is a drastic uptick in sales, and obviously this is for a reason. The first season of Jujutsu Kaisen is about as good of an adaptation as you can honestly ask for, and nowhere is this more apparent than in Jujutsu Kaisen's battles. JJK's battles are no-holds-barred, knife-edge conflicts that explode with ferocity. The best part about Jujutsu Kaisen's fights are just how raw and visceral they can get. And this is amped to 11 when Studio Mappa's animation quality is brought into the picture. The sheer flow and impact that the animation brings to the show's combat is on another level. And no doubt, this is thanks to Season 1's director Sung-Hoo Park, who in general seems to specialize in fast-paced, hard-hitting martial arts combat. It's evident that him and his team worked themselves to the bone on the production of this anime, to the point that apparently they worked so hard that they actually made the entire Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie in just 4 months.
Crazy.
Which is just, wow, that is a nightmare. Jesus. That's
Let them
actually
niggas go to sleep,
not
man.
okay at all. And if you want to know more about the dumpster fire that is Mappa Studios, I implore you to watch our video on it. It's really not okay what they're doing over there. Anyway. Alright, we understand that a lot of likable characters, cool fights, and an awesome anime adaptation are a winning formula for a hit series. Clearly, but I feel like a lot of this is just momentum. Building blocks that you use to get people on board. You can't just ride the wave of initial excitement and success and not expect it to die down at some point. So with this in mind, there has to be a good reason why Jujutsu Kaisen seems to just exist in a constant state of never-ending virality, right? And yeah, there is. Spoilers for JJK from here on.
Oh, this is Shibuya incident. How's this spoilers if it's the Shibuya
We've
incident?
established that Gege is no slouch
maybe 'cause
at
people aren't there
giving
yet,
people
maybe.
likable characters that they can grow fond of and maybe even see themselves in. That much is apparent. But there's another side of Gege Akutami. A much darker side. Yes, he's capable of giving these things to people, but he's also capable of taking them away.
You mean like killing people? This is not the reason why JJK is popular and never dies. No, that's not the reason.
When the Shibuya incident arc of Jujutsu Kaisen's anime aired in 2023, I believe this is where JJK became the monstrous pop culture beast that it is. The Shibuya incident serves as a massive story shift for Jujutsu Kaisen's narrative. The main villain, who turns out to not even be who we thought he was, successfully begins the next phase of his plan. And in the fallout, the characters we had been following this entire time are devastated. They're maimed, traumatized, and even killed. And honestly, watching all of this unfold was shocking. But when you watch it, you begin to understand Gege's philosophy when it comes to writing manga. When he was asked about killing off fan favorite character Kento Nanami, Gege had this to say.
To be honest, I like Nanami as a character, and he is easy to work on. But in terms of his role in the story and the development of the characters, I had no choice after all.
Gege understands that his characters are tools that can be used to not only invest his readers, but devastate them as well. It's one thing to have a quality story and characters, but when you are constantly shaking up the story in massive ways that pushes your characters to their very
can we
limits,
talk about this? Like, Nanami dying is not crazy, man. I just want to keep this a buck. Did I see it coming? No, I didn't. I did not see it coming. I mean, look, like when he was getting fried out there on the beach, I saw it coming. But like 2 episodes before that, if you would have told me Nanami's gonna die, I wouldn't have told you you were wrong. I would have just been like, okay, we'll see. But then once he started getting fried on that beach, I was like, okay, he's cooked. But it's like, it's important for Itadori for him to die. But like in terms of it making JJK good, I feel like that is not the reason. Like, Nanami dying is important to the story. Is it essential to why JJK is good? Absolutely not.
It's no wonder that an anime like this is going to constantly be talked about on social media. Even if some people are beginning to think that killing off so many characters has reached the point that it's detrimental to the story, it doesn't change the fact that
Wait, did this motherfucker just
people are
spoil
still
me?
constantly talking about it. And
Why did you have to show that? For what, you're so glad I don't know who that is, bro. Why would you show that? That you literally did not have to show that, bro.
posting leaks for the newest
This motherfucker, bro.
genesis
Stop
for
it.
all of this. And this is what led to Jujutsu Kaisen's modern day dominance in the anime industry. To the point that Jujutsu Kaisen was just awarded the Guinness World Record
Of
for
what?
most in-demand animated TV show, and would even sweep the Crunchyroll and
Not deserved, by the way. Not deserved. Not deserved. You know what? I never talked about this on the channel, but this was not deserved. I mean, JJK season 2 good. Before it to sweep the anime awards like it did, is not. I'm sorry, it wasn't deserved, bro.
Anime Awards and be
wasn't.
crowned Anime of the Year, which is insane because this isn't even for Shibuya. It's for the Hidden Inventory arc, which, yeah, Hidden Inventory is great, but it's like only 5 episodes in comparison to all of these other full seasons of anime. But that's just the power of Jujutsu Kaisen at this point. It's,
Oh, that's the power of the fan base.
well, a force to be reckoned with. And there's one more thing I need to talk about. One more element of Jujutsu Kaisen that I feel embodies everything we've talked about today. And that one element is a certain character. A character that I feel takes everything that works about Jujutsu.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. I'm starting not to like Gojo. I'm really starting not to like this motherfucker. And I'm really like not someone that gets affected by how other people talk. But every time I watch a video on JJK, there always has to be a section about Gojo. Like, we have to talk about him for a whole section of the video. You can't bring him up and say he's important to the goddamn show. We all know he's important to the show. Why does he have a whole 3-minute section, bruh?
Kaisen and amps it up to 11. Satoru Gojo is a phenomenon in and of himself. Like I said, he encapsulates everything about Jujutsu Kaisen and brings it to an unprecedented level. If we were to look at everything that we've talked about and turn it into a mathematical formula to calculate Jujutsu Kaisen's success,
Oh, we stopped liking him a long time ago, bro. People be glazing him nonstop. Yeah, like there's literally no character in anime history to receive as much glaze as fucking Gojo. This nigga is a fucking glazed donut,
Yes,
bro.
Gojo would serve as a multiplier that only makes that success even bigger. He's an incredibly cool, funny, and likable character.
And then we're glazing this motherfucker, and he literally does nothing for the Shibuya arc. He has one moment, and then he's non-existent. Like, take it out your mouth, bruh. Please, for the love of God, take it out your
Who's
mouth.
basically just that one teacher from your high school all the students love. If that teacher just so happened to also basically have untouchable godlike powers. And all of this just feeds further into Jujutsu Kaisen's ever-growing viral status. Gojo is always compared to other incredibly strong anime characters, with fans always debating on who would win. I'm not gonna get into all the mathematics and science and stuff about how Gojo's infinity powers work, but it's prime material for online power scaling arguments. Gojo is basically untouchable, which is why when he dies, it's the biggest shock in the
Look,
world.
I'm glad I already knew this, but like, come on, bro. Like, why? Like, there is literally no reason for you to be doing what you're doing in this video. You could have made this video without spoiling how you spoiled. I'm glad I knew this shit already, but like, you literally just spoiling people without even giving them a chance to react. There was no reason for you to say that.
In Chile after he died, people were straight up mourning him. And it makes sense because he was such a beloved character. But this also just fueled further discussion. Some thinking that he's dead for real, while others think he's gonna return. And no matter what side you fall into, it all still feeds back into an infinite loop of people constantly talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. And look, love it or hate it, you can't deny that Jujutsu Kaisen has buried its way into the pop culture zeitgeist. And to me, Gojo is like the ultimate weapon. The story doesn't overuse him, but when it does use him, it knows the best way to do it to get everyone talking. There are so many elements that have gone into making Jujutsu Kaisen the smash hit that it is, but I truly believe that Gojo is the secret sauce, the character responsible for the rise of Jujutsu Kaisen.
But like, let me just keep this a book for you, right? For some people, when it came to JJK, some people didn't even like season 1 of JJK, right? It was a minority, right? It was a minority of people that didn't like JJK, right? But there were still people that didn't like JJK, right? And the thing that made them like JJK was season 2. That season that Gojo is not even a part of. That he's on screen for literally 30 seconds in that whole season, right? So, how is this motherfucker the secret sauce? Get his Smee out your mouth for the love of fucking God.
But I want to hear what you guys think. Do you love Jujutsu Kaisen and think it deserves all the hype that it's gotten? Or do you hate it and cringe anytime you see it on your timeline? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you guys for watching. And
anybody that hates JJK is they're fucking they just like to hate shit that's popular. There's no reason to hate JJK. It's a phenomenal anime. It's great, and hopefully it continues to be that. And please, for the love of God, stop spoiling motherfuckers for no reason. Like, there was no reason for you to spoil motherfuckers like you did in that video. Like, at least give us a 5-second spoil warning. Like, just saying spoilers ahead, what the fuck does that mean? What are you about to spoil, bruh? That shit just literally fucking aggravated me. And I didn't even get spoiled. Mappa's most underrated anime. What I heard the entire video. Oh, brother. Mappa's most underrated anime. Let's see what he's talking about.
Studio Mappa has been pretty dominant in the zeitgeist of people who like to watch Japanese cartoons as of late for multiple reasons. Some good, some very bad. Back at the start of 2020, the studio's insane production schedule had already been in full swing for a few years, producing an average of 4 shows per year since...
Yep. And you see how they weren't producing, like, they weren't
Very
producing
bad.
no heat.
Back at the start of 2020, the studio's insane production...
No heat. Look at them in 2012. Kids on the slope, man.
schedule had already been in full swing for a few years, producing an average of 4 shows per year since 2016, but they had yet to become what is arguably the biggest name in the industry, as starting at the end of that year they would release and take over a series of massively anticipated projects like Jujutsu Kaisen, the continuation of Attack on Titan, and later Chainsaw Man and Vinland Saga Season 2. But just before that precipitous rise, they released one of their best, and in my opinion by far their most underrated series to date, and one that many, including myself, had thought was abandoned until just recently. From manga to screen, let's take a dive into the tale of Dorohedoro. Easily the most fun you'll ever have watching.
Look, I personally don't like this anime. It doesn't do it for me, but I realize, you know, I can be aware and realize that it's a good anime, but it's just not for Hezi.
Somebody be horribly disfigured, maimed, and beheaded while trying to figure out his own identity and living in a filthy, grungy, forgotten slum at the bottom of the world. Why it's so great, and why you should care that it's finally coming back. It seriously is way more fun than it sounds. The series opens, fittingly, with the horrific image of a lizard man with this guy's entire head shoved down his throat. Slowly, from inside the throat, another head appears, stares into his eyes, and says simply, "You aren't the one." We then cut to a wide shot and reveal the whole scene, where this fella, whose name we find out is dangling helplessly from the mouth of this hulking monster, as this lady absolutely clobbers another masked weirdo. The lizard monstrosity then, with his mouth still full of skull, attempts to tell his partner. This opening scene is a perfect microcosm for the series as a whole. Violence, mystery, action, comedy, all in the space of 7 pages or 1 minute.
And literally none of those hit for me. It went 0 for 4. But I respect it if you like. It went 0 for 4 for me personally.
In the year 2000, Taiyo Matsumoto, author of Ping Pong, returned from a 3-year disappearance from the manga magazine scene with the release of Go-Go Monster, a surreal 440-page one-shot that he had created over the past years without the help
440-page? God damn!
of any assistance. Hideki Egami, a well-respected editor at Matsumoto's publisher Shogakukan, realized that, oh hey, maybe making manga artists work within insanely stringent weekly deadlines wrings all the creative juices out of them and forces them to work as an assembly line of assistants rather than as artists. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. According to Egami, it was Matsumoto who convinced him to start a new magazine with monthly deadlines instead of weekly that would allow for more experimental and thoughtful creations. That magazine, Spirits Zokan Ikki, later rebranded to just Monthly Ikki, released its first issue on December 30th, 2000, and included in it was the first chapter of Doro Hedoro. Yeah, that's what the video's about. By highly private and mysterious mangaka Kyu Hayashida, whose real name and appearance are unknown to this day. Side note, no, internet, this is not her. Where did you get that?
Why do we got so many mangaka that are just fucking mysterious? Is this just the wave? Is this the wave for manga artists nowadays? Like, you know, don't let niggas know who you are, bro. Just be a mysterious person.
That idea from. This is singer and actor Mari Natsuki, the voice of Yubaba in Spirited Away. Here she is hanging out with Tilda Swinton. Dorohedoro ran monthly for 18 years, transferred magazines twice as Monthly Ikki and later Hibana each ceased publication, and finally ended with chapter 167 in Monthly Shonen magazine in 2018, and gained a loyal cult following and a reputation as a classic along the way. In a city so dense, dark, and grimy that it's known only as the Hole, Kaiman has woken up and found his head grotesquely transformed into that of a lizard. It turns out this type of transformation isn't uncommon here though, because this is a tale of 2 cities, the haves and the have-nots, the sorcerers and the humans.
These motherfuckers
the sorcerers,
so
who live in a
ugly.
world far removed from the Hole, are a race of people endowed with the ability to produce this black smoke from their fingertips or mouths. Each sorcerer has a unique and usually strange magical ability, often but not always involving transforming things into other things, bugs, mushrooms, meat pies, you name it, and the amount of smoke that someone can produce dictates the strength of their abilities. These sorcerers are able to create interdimensional doorways and frequently travel to the Hole to practice their magic on the helpless humans who live there. To make matters worse, Kaimon has no recollection of anything before he was disfigured. Who is he? Who did this to him? And who was the man inside his mouth?
I wouldn't want my identity to be public as a mangaka, considering how the people are nowadays. Yeah, that's true. I mean, nowadays, this is, you know, they be wildin', but nowadays, I can understand it now. You know, I could respect it.
His is a journey to find identity in an alienating world. But luckily, he's a hot-headed himbo with some incredible knife skills and seems to now be immune to magic. So he's made it his mission to track down whoever did this to him and kill every other sorcerer he finds along the way. What follows is a hilarious, delightfully surreal, violent, psychedelic, and intricately woven web of character-driven story, backed up by some of the most imaginative and detailed art around, both in the manga and the anime. The Kowloon Walled City, also known as Hak Nam or City of Darkness in Cantonese, was a dense, dark, and almost entirely ungoverned city that existed for much of the 20th century. It was a Chinese enclave within Hong Kong, which at the time was ruled by the United Kingdom and consisted of one city block, just 6.4 acres of land. Originally a military outpost, after World War II, refugees from the Chinese Civil War flocked to the enclave en masse, squatting there and eventually developing it into a city unclaimed by either China or the UK. At its most populous in the 1980s, the Kowloon Walled City housed about 35,000 people in 300 interconnected apartment buildings within this one block, making it the most densely populated place in the entire world. Before eventually being demolished in 1993, it was a lawless place filled with everything from opium dens and brothels to unlicensed doctors and dentists. And lacking any building codes, it was so dense that sunlight rarely even reached street level. Even still, some residents recall pleasant memories while living there. In an interview published in the South China Morning Post in 2013, one resident who shared a 70-square-foot room with 7 other families recalls that life was poor, but we were very happy. We ate from a board laid over the
families,
and sat on the bed. Everyone got along, and it was great to have so many kids to play with. The Hole and its residents share a very similar essence. It's also a relatively lawless place where people make the best of what they have. It's a dark, overcrowded, and bizarre slum, but there's always the charming feeling that people have carved out a life for themselves in this hostile world, whether it be the Hungry Bug gyoza shop or the hospital where Kaimon helps a doctor treat other magic victims. And in this world, magic isn't some wondrous, miraculous thing. It's a physical substance created by a specialized organ within a sorcerer's body, and a noxious pollutant. A thick layer of air pollution from the sorcerer's smoke has blanketed the city, blocking out the sun and causing myriad issues for its residents, like the one day a year when the magic-polluted acid rain causes the dead to rise from their graves. But not to fear, because they've made a festival out of it where you can register as an exterminator and buy fun prizes by collecting the metal plates that have been implanted in the necks of the dead before they were buried. Time is split pretty evenly between the Hole and the world of the sorcerer, and the dichotomy between the two is stark. The sorcerer's world is, well, also a bit gunky, to be honest. I don't think this lady can resist drawing some good gunk.
The more that I hear about it, the more that I know that I wouldn't have liked this anime. So I'm glad I'm watching this video. It is making me realize that this is really not for me, and I feel no remorse dropping this anime at all.
But it's much more open, with towns, villages, and palaces that are exposed to the open air, and it's defined by more intricate Gothic architecture rather than the brutalist industrial look of the Hole. It's also very psychedelic, with its colorful backdrops and bizarre carnivals that seem to just be ever present. It's the kind of place where you might see a demon fly by in the sky and just give you a friendly wave. But it quickly becomes clear that while the world of the sorcerers is certainly less likely to give you black lung and a vitamin D deficiency, it's not by any means a utopia free from its own inequalities. There's a strict social hierarchy, and the amount of smoke somebody can produce is indicative of their position in society. At the top of the social order are brutal mafiosos living in lavish mansions, and at the bottom, the poor wretches who can't produce any smoke at all, making them essentially the same as regular humans. For their own protection, these people have coalesced together and formed a gang almost as brutal as the mafiosos trying to eradicate them, which deals in black powder made from smoke that they've harvested from the more powerful sorcerers to use for themselves. These gang members are recognizable by the cross markings branded around their eyes, which look quite similar to the markings around Kaimon's eyes. I wonder what's up with that. Probably just a coincidence. This series is absolutely stuffed full of vibrant characters, but Kaimon and Nikaido are the beating heart of the story, or the smoke gland, I guess. Nikaido is the kind and cheerful, but equally badass woman who discovered Kaimon after his transformation, and the owner of a gyoza shop in one of the more dangerous parts of the Hole. The two are similar in many ways, both lively people determined not to let the objective shittiness of their situation and surroundings tamp down their spirit, and by the time the story has started, the two have already become a dynamic duo.
Is this anime like CGI only? Because I keep on seeing animation that looks like CGI.
with Nikaido helping Kaimon in his brutal crusade while also satisfying his ravenous hunger for just an absurd amount of gyoza. Kaimon is royally pissed off about what happened to him and driven by that anger, but at the same time he seems happy with his new life, and he adores Nikaido as a friend, so while he doesn't often think very deeply about what will happen once he does eventually figure out his original identity, there does seem to be an underlying uneasiness about what he might find. He's hard-headed and naive, unaware of how far over his head he is despite his own strengths, so when it's revealed early on that Nikaido is actually secretly a sorcerer herself, and the doctor who witnessed her summoning a door firsthand tells this to Kaimon, he just laughs it off as ridiculous. He straight up won't believe it unless he sees it with his own eyes. Mob Boss N is the most powerful man in the world of the sorcerers, besides the demons who live above and outside the caste system, and despite his magic being the fairly simple ability to turn anything into mushrooms, he's extraordinarily powerful and can supposedly produce enough smoke to level an entire town. He lives in a lavish mansion surrounded by servants and lackeys, and his thirst for power and narcissism have led him to essentially untouchable status. It's hard to get to a guy who's totally willing to engulf his entire mansion in smoke and transform everyone, including his own employees, into mushrooms at the slightest sign of danger toward himself. After hearing about Kaimon and his immunity to magic from the pathetic Fujita, the guy from the first scene, N is almost as determined to figure out who Kaimon is as he is himself. But while N may be a self-absorbed, violent maniac, his underlings are just as lovable as our friends, the Holers, the Holies, Holites. Shin and Noe are N's right-hand men. Wait, no, sorry. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. One mild-mannered man and one massive woman. These two are ostensibly the villains of the story, and while they do seem to genuinely enjoy the brutality of their work, they couldn't care less about N and his goals. If it weren't for their work responsibility, they'd be just as happy to share a meal with N's sworn enemies rather than, disembowel and behead them. And the same goes for most of the rest of the cast of misfits and freaks, both within and without N's organization, like Ebisu, the teenage girl with a mysterious past who suffered brain damage from having her face ripped off and then being turned into a zombie and then back, who now just sort of prances around maniacally and plays at being a grown-up. Or
I just want to say, I don't think this is Mappa's most underrated anime. And there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why I would stand on that, but this anime seems like, it has a very targeted audience, and for the people that like this type of anime, I can see how they think it's good. But for the most part, I feel like this just misses. And I can see how it misses for a lot of people. I can see why it will be considered underrated, bruh. I can see why.
Dr. Kasukabe, the chipper 60-year-old doctor stuck in a child's body, and many more. Everyone in this universe is basically on their own side. Not to say that they're selfish or uncaring towards each other, in fact much the opposite, but they each have their own unique motivations and complicated relationships with the other characters around them. The characters are refreshingly non-formulaic, and the female ones get to look like actual people instead of cutesy little over-sexualized creatures designed to sell figures. There is a fair amount of nudity and what I guess you would call fan service in the manga, but it never feels exploitative. Everyone's clothes, including Kaimon's, are always getting ripped apart in the middle of battle, so it's kind of just the cost of doing business. And there's just something that feels very different about this mountain of a woman's boobs popping out a bit while she beats the ever-loving shit out of some drugged-out cultists in the woods than whatever this is. It's also toned down significantly in the anime. Oh, and did I mention there's a baseball episode? I'll take a baseball episode over a beach or hot springs episode any day of the week. That's my hot take. At its core, Dorohedoro is a story about identity and alienation. It's hard not to see certain influences from Kafka's Metamorphosis, and not just because of the giant walking cockroach that can only say the word. As Kaimon awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a monstrous lizard.
My pillow stuck to me!
In an unforgiving industrial world, members of the lower class are used as mere tools to the members of the ruling class. The sorcerer...
Like, how would you even recommend this to somebody, bro? This show is so fucking ridiculous in literally every single aspect of every single way. Like, this is literally just a ridiculous mess of an anime. Like, this shit is all over the place. I don't even know where you would start in trying to recommend this to somebody.
Sorcerers don't see humans as living beings, but objects to be used for practice. And if that causes immense suffering on a societal level, then so be it. Kaiman is alienated not from his labor, but from his humanity. His labor is quite personal, in fact, regarded as just an object of someone's training. This psychedelic shot from the anime opening may appear to just be a silly way to combine visual elements from the show, but it speaks to Kaiman's feelings of alienation. This alleyway has something to do with his transformation, and a vague memory of it is all that he has from before the event. An endless line of gyoza-headed Kaimans walk robotically down the alley and stumble like the proverbial lemmings off the edge, a hallway that leads to nowhere. These countless copies of Kaiman are dehumanized and interchangeable. They feel like cogs in a machine or ingredients in a concoction as they splatter on the ground into multicolored goo that forms the title. But unlike Gregor Samsa, who describes his work as a traveling salesman as strenuous and impersonal, only ever allowing him to form casual acquaintances that are always new and never become intimate friends, Kaiman makes intimate friends quickly. The shared struggles of the lower class create a sense of camaraderie between people struggling under the tyranny of the ruling class, and while this brutal world pressures Kaiman to accept his alienation from human contact, his passion will never allow him to, and he seems to make friends wherever he goes, even in the world of the sorcerers, like with this gruff but caring food truck owner. In summary, Dorohedoro is the metamorphosis if Gregor Samsa wasn't such a wage cuck. Kyu Hayashida's art is much like the content of the story, raw, scratchy, and absolutely packed with an absurd amount of detail.
This art is, like, I can't even tell what's going on.
I'll often find myself starting a chapter and spending several minutes just staring at the opening panel to take in everything it has to offer.
Alright, I need to break the fourth wall here for a second to tell you that I drew this background for this video and it took me so long and I still don't think I quite nailed that super detailed look. This is the equivalent of a single panel. How do you do this, ma'am?
I'm currently only about a third of the way through it, so a bit past where the anime left off, and I can say with confidence that this manga is a masterpiece. In 2020, the first
Let's not do that. Let's look. Y'all throw that word around too much in this goddamn community, and I'm here to stop it. We're not calling Dorohedoro manga a masterpiece. We're not doing that. I don't care how you feel about this goddamn manga. I'm not about to allow you to call this shit a masterpiece. I'm not about to allow it. I'm not. I'm putting my foot down on these masterpiece statements, bro.
Portion of the series was adapted for the screen into a 12-episode series by Studio Mappa and helmed by Yuichiro Hayashi, a self-described fan of the manga and a well-respected director who had started his relationship with the studio with the horrendous but stylistically immaculate Kakegurui, and would later go on to direct the horrendous but stylistically immaculate Attack on Titan: The Final Season, Attack on Titan: The Final Season Part 2, Attack on Titan: The Final Season, The Final Chapters Part 1, and Attack on Titan: The Final Season, The Final Chapters Part 2.
Like, was that needed? Could you not just say Attack on Titan?
After the studio took over the series from Studio Wit. As you can probably tell from everything I've said about it so far, the source material would be no small task to adapt, with its highly detailed style and intricate meandering plot. But it's clear that Hayashi understood what made the manga so great, and the choice to utilize primarily 3D animation actually fit the source material surprisingly well and makes the best use of the resources at hand. In many ways a precursor to Chainsaw Man, which, as I said in the first video on this channel, was one of the best integrations of 3D animation of all time, I don't care what anyone says, the anime adaptation made great use of compositing effects.
I don't think so.
Effects and stylistic choices to blend the two mediums together seamlessly. In fact, when the Chainsaw Man anime got picked up, Tatsuki Fujimoto had this to say at the end of one of his chapters. Wait, the studio that did Dorohedoro and Jujutsu Kaisen is doing the Dorohedoro and Jujutsu Kaisen knockoff Chainsaw Man? What else is there to say? I can't wait to work with them. Not entirely accurate, I don't think, but funny. The 3D models actually allowed the animators to cover the characters in scratchy lines and details, something that would have been hard to achieve to draw a single frame, and this also makes the characters fit better with the beautifully detailed background art.
Oh, and did I mention the background design was led by Shinji Kimura, the guy from a little movie called Akira, and you can tell. And you can tell that Hayashida's background art was clearly inspired by the Akira manga, so they go together like gyoza and more gyoza.
And the slightly awkward quality to the movements fit well with the cast of bulky, goofy characters. The anime does alter the character designs slightly, making them a bit more rounded and approachable, and I'd be lying if I said that in an ideal world I wouldn't have preferred a fully 2D adaptation that matches Hayashida's sketchy and angular character designs a bit more closely, but in the world that we live in, this was pretty close to the best it could have been, particularly for the studio's first major use of 3D animation. I guess what I'm saying is you should really read the manga, but first, the anime is a great introduction, particularly because it condenses things a bit and makes it a little bit easier to get acquainted with the world. And
So you're telling me that in this video, you're not saying that cut content is a bad thing, you're saying it's a good thing. I never thought I would hear today someone would say cut content is a good thing.
Convoluted plot lines.
I mean, it got me into the series. Look at my little Gyoza fairy. He normally lives inside my computer, hanging off my graphics card.
The anime wasn't a flop by any means, and at least in Japan, it sold relatively well on the back of the cult following it had gathered over the past 20 years. But it also certainly wasn't the breakout hit that it deserved to be. And this was still the tail end of a time when, at least in the West, there was still some resistance towards 3D animation in anime. That, combined with the older characters...
Bro, there's still resistance to 3D animation. Like, Chainsaw Man did not figure out 3D animation when most of it is literally 2D. It just used 3D animation good. If you entirely want to make an anime 3D, you're going to get resistance. Like, it just is what it is, because that shit looks not good in 90% of the scenarios.
Target audience, darker themes, and unconventional style made Dorohedoro a bit harder to get into. So while it was well liked critically and even relatively popular, the hype...
Let's keep it a buck. Look, I'm gonna say this. Some people might not like it,
so while
but
it
I don't
was
care. When your anime's not as popular as other things, you know, you can tend to get away with getting higher ratings because not a lot of people watched it, right? If Dorohedoro had 1 million users vote on that score, would it be an 8.05? Probably not. I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you. That's just how it is.
Well liked critically and even relatively popular, the hype just wasn't there to propel it to anything beyond the cult classic status that it already had. Months, then years passed, and Studio Mappa adapted high-profile series after high-profile series, and fans who were initially hopeful for a sequel due to the show's financial success gradually grew unsure and eventually lost hope with no word from the studio about a continuation for the beloved series. That brings us to 4 years later, the start of 2024, when the silence was finally broken by an announcement on the official Dorohedoro Twitter account that the series would finally be getting a second season. Q Hayashida echoed the announcement and mentioned that she was personally very involved in it, and that subsequently leads us back around to the elephant in the room from the start of the video, Studio Mappa. It's no secret that the studio's reputation has been tanking recently, with several reports about their tendencies to cut corners and underpay and overwork their mostly freelance animators in service of insane deadlines. And while Mappa works with some incredibly talented creators and have created and continue to create some incredible shows on the backs of those creatives, including some of my favorites, the cracks have started to show. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 was still impressive, but showed some clear signs that episodes were being finished just hours before airtime, and Hell's Paradise, despite the source material being wildly popular, felt like a complete afterthought compared to their other work. So while I do think that Yuichiro Hayashi and his crew did a great job with Season 1, and I do hope that he's still involved, it's hard to hope for Mappa to be in charge of any production I care about at this point. That said, there's still
I'm not gonna lie, 2024 gotta be a crazy year. I don't think I will ever hear someone say they don't want Mappa to be in charge of their product. That's a crazy thing. If someone told me that Mappa was about to remake Tokyo Ghoul, nigga, there's no universe where I'm complaining. There's just there's just not a universe where you will see a complaint come out of my mouth.
very little information about the continuation, with no release date or staff announced, and most notably, no studio attached to the project. MAPPA continuing the production is probably still statistically the most likely outcome, and with Attack on Titan finally over, Hayashi is likely open to direct the continuation again, but a confluence of factors certainly point to the possibility, at least, that someone else could be taking it over. First of all, they seem to have their hands full with a cornucopia of popular shows, not that that stopped them from taking on more projects in the past, and the 4-year gap does seem to indicate that they had given up on the project. Where the official Dorohedoro Twitter account used to feature the name MAPPA in its bio, it's now conspicuously missing, and the official MAPPA account didn't retweet the announcement post or anything. Plus, if you were announcing a continuation by the same studio, why wouldn't you mention the studio if there's no secret? My pea-brain conspiracy theory is that it's being picked up by Andraft, the new production company that was just announced by Chainsaw Man director Ryu Nakayama. To be clear, this is extremely unlikely for several reasons, not the least of which that it doesn't seem particularly likely that MAPPA would relinquish the rights for one of their shows to someone who just left the studio on what seemed like less than great terms, but hey, a weird little armadillo creature can dream. Anyway, watch Dorohedoro, read Dorohedoro, rub soot all over your face and jump in a public fountain and contract cholera, and tell me what you think in the comments.
Look, good video on Dorohedoro. You might have did it justice for some people. Some people might think that it's a good thing. MAPPA will go downhill in future. There's no preventing it. 5 of the most important animators of JJK already left, and it's only the beginning. Yeah, I mean, is it gonna go downhill? Yes, but I mean, like, there's still good directives, good directors over there. There's still good animators. So like, there is a way worse universe than having MAPPA work on your anime. That's all I'm saying. Like, there is a way worse universe. I witnessed Tokyo Ghoul get slaughtered, bruh. You're not telling me that there's not a worse universe than MAPPA working on anime. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, you know, and then saying that it's not preventable, look, it's definitely preventable, bro. You could stop. MAPPA could make a comeback, bro. It's preventable, bro. It is 1,000,000% preventable, bro. It's just that they gotta work on the studio and how, you know, they gotta work on not trying to drop an anime every single season, and then there goes the change right there. That's all you need. All right. Why weebs love anime?
I hate anime.
Anime.
Oh my god, anime is so weird.
Shut up, Brittany.
Anime is a f***ing abomination.
As a self-confessed anime nerd, I can see why anime turns a lot of people off. Like the weird tension between brother and sister, which for some reason is common in anime these days.
Is it? Is it really?
Or the weird sounds that the characters make. And of course, the exaggerated voice acting. But if you can get past the weirdness, anime is one of the most enjoyable media out there. I truly believe that there's an anime out there for anyone. It just depends on what you like. First, let's start with the graphics. Anime has some of the most beautifully animated art I've ever seen. From the breathtaking landscapes of Friend and Beyond Journey's End, to the vibrant art style of Demon Slayer, and to the spine-chilling fighting scenes in Solo Leveling. It's so hard to go back to watching normal media after you've experienced.
Alright, let me keep it a buck with you. Look, anime is fantastic, art-wise, right? But the reason why most people like anime, right, is because of the stories that anime tell, right? At least for me, there's a lot of people that like shonen. They like shonen anime. That's all that they watch. Some people only like romance. But modern TV, the stories are just not as good as you can get in anime. And shows that have started leading into more mature themes like Invincible, like Shogun that I was just talking about. Any like mainly popular TV shows do good. But it's really not the art 90% of the time. Like, the art is fantastic. But I can go watching a show that doesn't have crazy animation with a good story. I can do that, but I know some people can't. So I mean, even though like the art is a major thing, I don't think that's a major factor for a lot of people. Like when it comes to other medias, like when it comes to the standout factor for anime, I don't think so. But maybe it is for some people. Maybe it is for a lot of people who got tuned in anime recently. But just for like me, since I've been watching for a long time, like, and seeing so many different variations of art, like it's a factor, but not as crazy as a lot of other things.
The thrill of this art form. You also get exposed to some of the most complex and well-written story plots ever created.
Now you're talking.
I can't talk about complex plots without discussing Attack on Titan.
Alright. Can we look? I get Attack on Titan is the most popular complex story. Right? It literally is the most popular complex story in anime. But it's not the face of complex stories. I need us to stop doing that. There's better complex stories than Attack on Titan. I get, like, you know, you're just trying to make a point here so people can understand. But I need us to stop doing this. Because it's not the most complex story to ever grace anime. Let's stop doing that, alright?
This was my gateway anime, and for good reason. This anime has so much foreshadowing that people are rewatching the entire series and are rediscovering hidden meanings behind some of the cryptic scenes. The main character goes from being the protagonist to an antagonist, back to being a protagonist whose sidekick ends up being the main hero. This anime has one of the most well-crafted plots in all of writing, and it deserves all the hype that it got. Then you have lighthearted and hilarious animes that lighten your mood instantly, like Spy Family, for example, where the main character is a telepathic 5-year-old that gets adopted by Lloyd, a Western spy, who is using her...
I'm not gonna lie, we're 2 minutes and 20 seconds in, and you literally haven't named the anime that hasn't came out in the past 4 years. Now, I understand. There's been a lot of heat that came out in the last 4 years, right? I understand. I get it. Right? I mean, Attack on Titan came out in 2016. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, something that's literally old. Attack on Titan is not old, bro. Something that you literally haven't named a single anime that's over 10 years old. Please, for the love of God.
And you're the fake wife who's an assassin, as a fake family in order to keep suspicions low about his profession. He also needs the 5-year-old Anya to gain access to a political figure whose son goes to the same school as her. This show is an absolute joy to watch, where you get to experience the ridiculous adventures of this family and how they get themselves into the stickiest situations but are able to smoothly resolve their issues. A lot of animes have very inspiring core narratives. It's over the top and exaggerated, sure, but it puts the viewer in a positive and hopeful state of mind. Moshly Magic and Muscles is the perfect example. Mosh is a musclehead that has no innate magical skills.
Okay, I'm just gonna throw out a prediction. We're not gonna hear any anime that came out before 2010 by the end of this video.
Which is a problem in the magical world he lives in. A cop spots Mosh because he doesn't have the magical face mark, and makes him get into a magical school in order to become a divine visionary. If Mosh succeeds, the cop promises he and his adoptive father get to finally live in peace. This anime is both hilarious and inspiring. For example, Mosh bypasses the need to fly on a broom by running at superhuman speeds in the air. He's so fast that he ends up flying. You also get to see him fighting overpowered wizards with his bare fists, and it breaks all expectations and standards. This anime's message is very clear. There's always a way to reach your goals, so long as you try your best, regardless of what you were born with. It's not a groundbreaking trope by any means, but it shines in its execution. And finally, some people enjoy anime for the adrenaline-inducing fighting scenes alone. Just look at these gorgeous clips. Now compare these clips to something like a Marvel movie, and
No, I'm not gonna lie. No way you just did that. First of all, hold on. First of all, you literally just showed you literally just showed anime clips, bro. You're making it seem like nothing old is good, bro. You haven't named a single thing or showed a single thing over 8 years old. Maybe you don't realize what you're doing, but you're doing something. And then no way you just tried to compare some of the best scenes that we've seen in anime to fucking Madam Web. Please stop. Don't do that shit. That was insane, bro.
you'll quickly find that CGI pales in comparison.
Like, what are we doing, bro? Madam Web versus Finland is crazy. No, that's insane. I can't believe she just did that. That was crazy, bro.
I don't like that name.
Did you just show a Captain Marvel clip? Okay, bro. I can't take you serious anymore. You're not even trying to show some of Marvel's best shit. You just showed a fucking Captain Marvel clip. Bro, what is this?
Anime doesn't have any rules. It doesn't have the political restrictions that Western media has. It can be weird, funny, mysterious, deep, romantic, thrilling, inspiring, or just plain stupid. And I enjoy how unorthodox it can get. Anime is an acquired taste, but there is an unfair label that gets put on people who enjoy it. There's a reason why it's becoming more and more mainstream and why it's reaching a broader audience. I say give it a try, and if you still don't like it, at the very least you can say you tried it. If you do end up liking it, well, you've just gained another avenue of entertainment. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.
Alright. I don't know what I was expecting clicking on this video, but let's just say I was not expecting that. I wasn't. Alright, we got the downfall of Studio Bind.
Yo bro, how much for the cut? Studio Bind, the studio that debuted with arguably the best looking isekai to ever come out, but the quality steadily went downhill. I probably need to preface first, am I doing this video for the title? Yeah, secondly, is this...
Yes, you are. You absolutely are, because you are capping. You are capping. We're 16 seconds in this video. I'm gonna tell you right now, the amount of cap that I just heard in the first 16 seconds is unparalleled.
Studio actually going downhill? No and yes. They are a new studio. They've only worked on 2 projects. Of course, one of them has multiple seasons. And yes, season 2 part 2 looks better so far. So there's no telling what's for this studio in the future. But there is quote unquote signs of this studio going somewhere that is not what it was intentionally going for. Studio Bind was founded in 2018 by Egg-Firm and Studio Y-Fox. It was a joint effort to make this studio. Egg-Firm CEO Nobuhiro Osawa independently offered Toshiya Otomo, the president of Studio Bind now, to adapt Mushoku Tensei. From previous experience that Otomo had producing shows back in Studio 8-bit, Yamano Susume, although different types of genre, but still has a lot of similarities with a more character focused and driven show. Well, I don't know if Yamano Susume is a character driven show, but from the looks of it, it is. And there was a lot of character acting animators in Yamano Susume, but Otomo couldn't produce Mushoku Tensei alone. So the Fire Nation attacked. He would get backed up from Osawa from Egg-Firm and the founder and representative director of Y-Fox, Gakko Iwasa. After the confident boost that Otomo had, he picked up Mushoku Tensei and became the debut project for Studio Bind. Trying to pick a director for this project, they went for Manabu Okamoto and assistant director Hiroki Hirano. Both had ties with Y-Fox, worked on previous shows like Akamega Kill and ReZero Season 1. A lot of companies were trying to get Mushoku Tensei off the ground, but it was never made into a screen adaptation because of various reasons. reasons, as by the season 1 director said. It probably was a pretty challenging task to adapt the source material, not just because it was a light novel, but also the story itself. Mushoku Tensei is not your bog standard isekai, it has a lot of layers to it, and the pre-production phase probably took a lot of time. It's just packed with so much stuff, and they also made a new language from scratch. I don't know if this is also from the light novel, I'm guessing not, but the main team was stacked and packed with talented animators. Season 1 looked amazing. At least part 1. It was a Sakuga Fest show through and through. The direction, storyboards, art direction, compositing, everything was perfect. And the series director also had a unique idea to use a film grain because he liked the retro fashion look. So he went to try it out, and I think it worked on his favor. Of course, the source material was also great. With all of the connections that the main staff had, a lot of animators flocked to this project. It could be veterans or young freelancing animators. The display of magic and the world surrounding them was something else. From this dark, depressing world to a colorful, magical world. Their parents have sex 24/7. And also this. Oh yeah, and cheating. Because Paul's my that was a joke. Even before season 1 dropped, the staff provided us with a jaw-dropping pre-animated trailer just so that the fans are more hyped for the adaptation. Ryo Imamura, Shingo Fuji, and some of the animators involved really created a masterpiece of a trailer. I mean, it worked, right? Look at Gigak's reaction.
Damn, this has budget. Look at this. Look at this budget.
Oh. While most people would not see the downgrade for part 2 of season 1, just a note, it's a bit of a downgrade. I still think it's like an 8.
You see how like you're dragging this so crazy? See how you gotta say in parentheses it's a bit of a downgrade? And that's really your own opinion.
Tier visual wise, it's not comparable to season 2's downgrade. Part 2 of season 1 was not as consistent as part 1, and the more glaring issue is that the schedule is showing cracks, more so a delay for part 2. But a more glaring issue is that the team was split very heavily so that they could work on another project, being Onimai.
One of LJ's favorites.
Onimai was another very ambitious project for the studio. Very beautiful show. Everyone worked on this show. And it stole some of the more important stuff from Mushoku Tensei. Shingo Fuji was the one who directed and storyboarded the PV and episode 11 of part 1, which arguably is the best action episode of the series. He also action supervised some episodes in part 1, but he was the director for Onimai. Ryo Imamura had some very standout sequences and made the overall drawing quality for some episodes really good, especially for the PV. He corrected a lot of drawings there. He was now the character designer for Onimai, and of course a lot of other staff. Onimai's quality never dropped. It was again a Sakuga Fest show through and through, sometimes even having standout episodes just because the plethora of directors and animators on the project. Again, part 2 was still really good visually. The director was still the same, and there were a lot of top tier animators like Toshiyuki Sato, Honehone, Hiroyuki Takashima, and a lot more. I'll talk about Kyukawa later. I mean, you had animators fighting because they wanted to animate this scene. Also, the regulars from part 1 came back to the best episode of the series because of Hiroyuki Takashima helming the episode just for one episode. But the worst hasn't happened yet. We got a pre-anime trailer for season 2. Okay, looks great. Kyukawa's gonna pop off this season. Ooh, another trailer drop. Okay, it looked a bit concerning. Oh wait, the director changed for season 2? Hiroki Hirano? Well, he was the assistant director for season 1, so it's probably gonna be fun. Well, I was wrong. Before talking about some changes about the staff, was this the director's fault? Probably not. Again, he was quite involved in season 1. It was probably the schedule. The schedule, as I've said before, was starting to show cracks, and season 2 particularly didn't have a good schedule probably, just from the visuals of part 1 of season 2. The first part of season 1 probably had a good schedule, but over time it got worse. I still like season 2 and beyond, but it's quite obvious the downgrade in visuals. I also saw some people talking about season 2's adaptation was not on par with season 1. I don't know if this is true. You light novel readers can confirm it in the comments. From an anime standpoint, the first half pacing of part 1 was a bit all over the place. With the unreasonable schedule that they probably had for season 2, some of the staff left the project. But the most important part was the season 1 director leaving, and some of the other staff followed him to the new project. Yes, maintaining a very stacked staff list for multiple seasons is hard. There's a lot of examples from other shows. But where did he go? Idol. No, not that one. Idolmaster U149 was an idol show that visually looks appealing and had some very talented staff working on this. The important stuff is that season 1 director of Mushoku Tensei, Manabu Okamoto, was not the director for U149.
Hey, fuck that nigga. Fuck that nigga. This is what he left for? He left for this shit?
and Hiroki Takashima, someone who directed 2 of the most impressive looking episodes, being episode 5, which he solo key animated as well, and part 2 episode 10, of course, the best episode of the series. But now he's the assistant director for U149 and some other staffs also. Like they got Atsushi Kobayashi, someone who is very involved in Vinland Saga, to direct an episode in U149 because he did some storyboarding work in season 1, and the episode that he did in U149 was a masterpiece, hands down the best episode from that show. Okamoto probably wanted to direct U149 more than Mushoku Tensei, and again, the schedule wasn't friendly, but for this show, they probably had a good schedule. Seigen Pictures is a studio that hasn't worked on much shows, but their quality is always top tier because the people behind the studio bring in some very talented names to the project and also forming a really good connection to other well-known animators. It's a studio that prioritizes quality over quantity. Also, the shows that they produce are mainly for the Japanese audience, like Gundam, Uma Musume, Idolmaster, and a lot more. And for the future project also, they're gonna do an Uma Musume movie, which looks absolutely stunning. Can't wait for that.
Look, all I'm gonna say is, I'm not interested. They can have it. They can have that shit, man.
Looked underwhelming because most of the staff from season 1 is not here anymore. It had a lot of inconsistencies like drawing, weird movements, and sometimes the background doesn't mesh that well with the characters. It also doesn't help that Toto, the character designer for Mushoku Tensei, is now only credited as design assistant because he is working on Chainsaw Man, and he's prioritizing that show more because he absolutely loves Chainsaw Man. I mean, look at that profile picture. So uwu kawaii desu. What the fuck, did I just feel like the art director and composing artist is still the same.
So basically what you're telling me is that my show Mushoku Tensei lost all their talent. All our great animators and our storyboard directors and our directors, they left us. But you know what? That's okay. Because as someone who has animation as an afterthought, I still love Mushoku Tensei. And that story got me going nowhere, buddy. I'm locked in, bruh. I'm locked in.
For season 2, still had beautiful backgrounds. And another problem is that most of the animators that was involved for previous seasons didn't even do a thing for this season. In an era where producers and studios are dishing out high quality and ambitious productions, the talent are spread thin. That's why now there's a lot of freelancers or producers contacting animators on Twitter because they want a piece of that Sakuga. Sometimes you could do great, but slowly relying on animators that don't have much experience to basically carry an episode, it's not the ideal thing. There's also rumors for the first couple of episodes of season 2 part 1 were like a late decision to adapt the content, but take that as a grain of salt. The Magic School arc,
wait until they cancel season 3. Bro, LJ, if they cancel season 3, it's studio buying K. I want studio buying on a fucking, I want their head, bro. I want them to cancel season 3. Studio buying don't know pain yet. I'ma show them pain. Let them cancel season 3.
Looked a bit better compared to the first couple episodes. And one animator basically carried the action part and sometimes some other stuff. Kyukawa. Kyukawa is a young upcoming animator. One of the best action animator to come out in recent times. His tight choreographed fights are always a treat to see. He did some of the best action sequences in season 1 and he was the sole purpose on why the Sakuga aspects of it for season 2 was still good. Of course there's other animators that was in this season, but if it's not for Kyukawa, it would have looked way worse. The argument from my previous Mushoku Tensei video was that, oh, it's more of a slice of life calm season. They don't need to put a lot of resources on that because there's barely any fights, which is a pretty dumb statement. The studio's previous works, like Onimai, was just...
It is true though. Like, it's true. That's true though.
Just slice of life show, but it looked amazing. Same with Mushoku Tensei season 1, when there's no action, it still looked consistent and great. And there's also some examples from this season of anime, like Hibiki Euphonium season 3 and Jellyfish. If you have a talented and ambitious director that understand anime, how to use the visuals, compositing, music, voice acting, framing work to actually tell a more cohesive story, rather than just putting music randomly, you get a project that's just more than a show. It's captivating, interesting, and also connection. Having connected with a lot of talented directors and animators is also important, while having the main core staff too being really good is a plus too. The whole scope is that this studio was made for the sole purpose of adapting Mushoku Tensei. I'm not saying that they're only gonna work on Mushoku Tensei. They are an animation studio, so if they're smart, they're gonna pick up more projects. But the fact that they can't keep the more important staff to the show is pretty bad, because probably the schedule is not the greatest.
He's not wrong. If you can't keep your important staff, then that's tough, bruh. You know, the quality's gonna go down. You letting your ghost go out the door, That's a problem, bro. You need to give them niggas some pay raises or something, bro.
The
Got to.
director got offered to do another show that might had a better schedule and piqued their interest more. Same goes for Onimai, the fact that they had to split the team so that they could work on 2 shows at the same time. And looking at the broad scale thing, Onimai was prioritized more. And now we're here. Season 2 Core 2 had another director change. Ryusuke Shibuya, the director who did the better episode, arguably the best episode in Core 1 visually, and it looks good, better than Core 1 so far. It's consistent, the character designs looks better, barely any off-model drawings. I know they're not gonna have the same quality as season 1, but all I need is consistency. I could nitpick some stuff, but it doesn't really matter for now. Currently, from recording this video, 3 episodes are out, and overall, it's good. I actually haven't watched episode 3. It came out last night. Let me just... Wow, that was great. And very unexpected. I don't know what's gonna happen this season. I know from the OP they're gonna save Zenith from the labyrinth thing. I don't know if this core is gonna be action heavy. I don't know if there is gonna be a turning point.
It gotta be. It has to be action heavy this season. Look, we had all the story shit last season. We're getting some story shit at the beginning. The second half of this season gotta be action, bro. It got to.
Although people are saying that content-wise, it's gonna be better, there was rumors that they are gonna adapt the whole light novel. Take this very lightly for now. Kyukawa is probably still gonna carry the action and other animators that were brought to the show. Although I'm a bit worried with Kyukawa because of his recent tweets about him being demotivated. Hopefully he gets through that. By the way, the tweets are not because of Studio Bind from the looks of it, just to clarify. But yeah, I probably missed some stuff. I didn't want this video to be that long. Although to be honest, this could be my longest video. Anyways, if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you hate it,
this is your longest video, 11 minutes and 44 seconds. God, I gotta take a note out your book, boy. This will be a short video for me.
Leave a like, comment down below what are your thoughts in previous seasons or the season that is airing right now. And yeah, hope you guys this video. See you guys next time.
Clickbait title, absolutely. But you know, Mushoku Tensei, I can only hope the best for my show, bruh. Hopefully we get some more animators for the rest of Mushoku Tensei. But I mean, regardless, even if the quality goes down, that story is phenomenal nonetheless. I'm not going nowhere regardless, so. Alright. Now up next we got the problem with cut content.
Yo, it's gonna be one.
And I hate that he got fucking Tokyo Ghoul 2 seconds into this video. Like, why'd you have to remind me?
One of an open discussion about the one thing consumers of any type of media dislike, and that's cut content. I don't think any of us are new to this concept. For us who partake in the anime medium, it's a bit more common to identify. Whether you're somebody who is well versed in the source material, or an anime only who comes to learn about cut content after consuming an adaptation, it happens a lot more often than we may like. Now, what prompted me to make this video is gonna take us back to last season when looking at Classroom of the Elite's 3rd season. For the record, as an anime only, I really do enjoy the show. Season 3, in my opinion, had some of the best highs of the series yet, and things seem to be amping up with an incoming first-year class. However, while gazing from afar on social media, I started to see various complaints about the adaptation. Granted, these complaints about the anime have been around for some time, but I really felt them come Season 3. Between Twitter and doing some brief follow-up with other sources, there's a list of things that have really rubbed fans of the source material the wrong way. Character interactions, expressions, inner monologue, important scenes, moments of characterization cut out across the board from the seasons. Now, while it's common for some things to be cut, what is left out can gradually become quite substantial when looking at the total amount of it, a snowball effect if you will. Which kinda got me thinking, as much as the anime community complains about almost anything down to a frame, the issue of cut content is not talked about largely. Most likely because it's a case-by-case basis.
No way you just lied like that. You just lied insane. Cut content gotta be one of the most complained about thing in anime history. I don't think there's anything that gets complained about more than cut content. Boy, let JJK skip a panel in the anime, boy. Twitter will be on an uproar. Bro, you better stop it, boy. Cut content is the most complained thing about in anime, bro. It's not even close.
But even so, you have to ask yourself, why does it happen to such extensive amounts? Now, when looking at source materials, we primarily deal with manga, webtoons, and light novels. Each of them having varying degrees of cut content across different adaptations, with some so severe it may as well be a butchering of the adaptation altogether. However, I'd argue that in the order that I called out the different types of source material, the amount of consistent cut content content gradually gets more intense. Starting with manga, we of course know of many adaptations that have either skipped or cut content to the point that people beg for reboots. Tokyo Ghoul, The Promised Neverland, you get the picture. However, manga does give animation studios what I label as a visual blueprint. From the surroundings to choreography and facial expressions, they have the general idea of what a scene looks like. The rest is up to the teams in charge and any creative choices made, but even with an episode count, you have a guideline. Of course, the one thing that should be taken into consideration at all times is pacing. At the most, an adaptation will always strive to get the most crucial aspects of storytelling across, and sometimes things may be cut for the sake of flow and reaching that perfect episode runtime amount they are allotted. Sometimes it may be a comedic scene, and others it may be something much more substantial, but for the most part, things work out 90% of the time. You don't hear much about major cut content complaints from the manga adapted shows that come out across the seasons, but at least that's in my experience. This is all an observation, of course, but looking at some of
you're like, look, you're not tapped in like you need to be then, bruh. Just this season, people were complaining about Kaiju number 8 cut content. We were one episode in the series. We were one episode in the show. People were already complaining about cut content in Kaiju number 8. I don't know where you've been, bruh. This is a problem people talk about damn near every episode. Every week anime come out, I hear something about some fucking cut content.
The recent series that have blown up especially, I think you can see where I'm coming from. Now, Webtoons is where the rift really begins to show, as the amount of cut content on a weekly basis per episode tends to stack up over time. I know everyone has Solo Leveling on their mind, but for this conversation, I want to bring up Tower of God and briefly touch on God of High School. Now, just like manga, Webtoons especially have that visual blueprint, going a bit further considering they are typically in color. Compared to manga, however, this is a type of source material that has taken some serious trial and error. I think that for the most part, Solo Leveling broke the curse, delivering an overall positive adaptation. However, I once again want to bring up pacing, and the fact that unlike magazines, which tend to have a page count restriction and format, Webtoons from my knowledge does not have that limit. Some chapters and climaxes could have a substantial amount of content and details, which may not make it into the anime, thus leading me back to Tower of God. Now, I enjoyed season 1 a lot. I mean, the finale had just about everyone heated. However, not even that was spared from the cut content conversation, which takes us to content creator Annie News. Now, personally, I don't know too many content creators who cover cut content, but they have a playlist that tackles the vast majority of cut content across the first season. Some details small and others can be considered quite big, especially with
as a Tower of God webtoon reader, I would just like to say that any cut content that was skipped in season 1 is justifiable. They did content to the best of their ability, bro. Because the prologue of Tower of God it's like fucking 90 chapters, bro. It's long as a motherfucker. So to condense that into one season, they did an absolute great job. Now this next season, I pray to the Lord Jesus that they do what they gotta do with that cut content in the next season of Tower of God. Because if they skip some shit in that next season, I'm about to be in a frenzy, bro. If they skip some important shit, I just hope they on their P's and Q's in the next season.
We're looking at characterization. I actually took to the Tower of God Reddit just to see other perspectives, and one comment that stuck out to me was that the majority of the main cast feel entirely different compared to the source, practically different characters, which is quite a claim. So if you are a Tower of God reader, let me know in the comments how you
horrible claim. Get that guy the fuck out of here.
Feel in regards to all the content pertaining to season 1. For a world like Tower of God though, you do have to wonder just how much detail was cut out, considering the story heavily relies on mystery and the details that come from certain characters' backstory via lineage. I've seen takes about characters such as Rak, for example, that has been reduced to comedic relief so far in the anime, though he has actually had some quite serious moments early on. Kun Bing
Cap. In the prologue, Rak is literally a comic relief character. In the prologue of the webtoon. So anyone saying that he's important in the prologue, they're capping out their life. They're capping out their mind, bro. He doesn't become important till damn near season 1, bro.
Another example, as from my understanding, he was a lot more strategic and made things happen behind the scenes a lot more in comparison to the anime. These details
he does do that, but most of that is in season 2. I mean, well, season 1 of the season 2 in the webtoon, season 1 and season 2 in the what's the name 2. Oh, am I getting spoiled? No, he's not spoiling. He's not spoiling.
Can end up giving you an entirely different impression on the character, or a lack thereof, and is exactly why people do encourage
Wait,
you.
have you not seen Tower God season 1? If you haven't seen Tower God season 1, then you might be getting spoiled. But I mean, that's just like 4 years old.
To go back and read the source material. God of High School being the butchering so bad that even I ended up going back and reading it only to fully understand why
now God of High School got fucking hoed. Like we know that. Everyone in their mother knows how God of High School got treated.
so many people were upset. There were so many details and fights that did not get done properly, and it's no wonder. As to why this may happen with webtoon adaptations, again, I still think they are in a form of trial and error right now. Granted, Solo Leveling is currently the best one yet, but in my opinion, the narrative is pretty straightforward that I doubt much is missing from what we got in the anime. Outside of planning, I'm not sure if the structure and format of webtoons plays a part as to why a series may end up having so much cut content, especially when considering pacing. There honestly isn't enough information to go and make a large claim, but if I were to make assumptions, they would probably apply to light novels as well when it comes to the amount of abundant detail and dialogue. Now, of course, this conversation doesn't apply to all light novels. Stories like the 86 has been said to be pretty close to a perfect adaptation among others. However, I've noticed that some of the long-term adaptations have really had some issues, notably fantasy series alongside Classroom of the Elite. Now, in comparison to the other two, light novels are heavily text-based pieces of literature. Within these volumes, there are multitudes of passages that get down to the nitty-gritty when it comes to painting the best narrative possible using efficient detail, as there are not going to be a lot of pictures to get that.
Hey, Colin, I appreciate the gift and sub, man. Appreciate that, man. How you doing, Colin?
Point across. Among character dialogue, there is all sorts of information
you need to sub yourself. Don't give subs to people that's not in here.
Describe the environment, a character's actions and expressions, and most notably, inner monologue. The lack of the visual blueprint, I'm sure, is greatly taken into consideration, and is also why it's important for good communication among a team when talking about animating a scene or exchange. You have to essentially create that layout as to how you believe it should look, because not even the author may know exactly how every little detail should come to life. I want to imagine that this adds on a lot of extra work onto the planning process, and once again, pacing must always come into play. If there is one thing that for sure tends to get cut from an adaptation, it's inner monologue. Mainly because some monologue can run on for quite some time, and while it does give the reader a very insightful look into the mind of a character, it would kind of drag on when it comes to a viewer. Additionally, I know there tends to be a lot of other cut content that, whether heavily correlated to the current plot or not, gets cut, which ends up affecting a multitude of things in the long run, especially characterization and
I think as an anime fan, regardless, you just have to know that there's going to be cut content 90% of the time. Some light novels, some manga, they just have too much content, and instead of them trying to get all the content in there, they have to cut it, and you just got to be aware that it's going to be there. Now, no one is okay with a full butchering. No one's okay with a Tokyo Ghoul level butchering, a God of High School level butchering. That is not okay. And when studios are doing this is a problem. We cannot be okay with coming out with butcherings like Tokyo Ghoul and butcherings like God of High School. And there's plenty of other anime that have got butchered by their terrible adaptations. So when it comes to cut content, we got to find a limit, and we got to find one quickly, because ruining some of these great manga is unacceptable. I personally like light novels more than mangas. That's respectable.
Hence why, when it comes to adapting something, the one main rule that is pretty much followed to a T is prioritize the essential. For light novels, there tends to be so much more intricate details and scenes happening over time and in different areas that it just realistically would not make it into the anime. Even if a series had larger episode counts and perfect production conditions, getting every single detail in there from so much text would just not work, because pacing and episode runtime will always reign supreme. Hence why, regardless if something is major or minor,
this is why I think that the West, when it comes to adapting books and stuff, be fucking gapping the fuck out of anime, bro. Like, bro, take Shogun for example. If you watch Shogun, Shogun is a book. It's an old ass book. That bitch came out in like 1980 or something, right? And it just got recently adapted this year. But I have never read the book, but the things that I've heard about their adaptation from the book is fucking, people are saying, oh my goodness, they did that book so much justice. And you know why? Because they don't have to worry about a 20-minute episode cap. Like, throw that shit away. Can we get an hour of anime? I will love 8 anime episodes that's an hour over hitting 12, bro. I don't give a fuck if it's 12. I don't give a fuck if it's 30. I don't care if it's 40 episodes. As long as my content is in there, that's what's important. So whatever we got to do to get rid of that stigma, that's what we need to do, bro. Because the West be gapping in that example. That's all I'm going to say.
It can be removed without taking away from the immediate situation at hand, then it is up for removal, which in the long run can hurt an adaptation.
I appreciate it, LJ, man. Head ass.
Overall, as the story begins to add a lot more complexity amongst its cast and narrative nuance. Focusing on the key points of the main character, simplify as much as possible, rely on visual storytelling, present what is purely relevant to the ongoing situation. If these were to be thought of as base guidelines for light novel adaptations, then it makes sense as to why there is so much cut out over time. As anime only for series like ReZero, I find myself really enjoying the story, and yet I have come to learn that there is also just so much I have missed out on. Fellow content creator Asaratha HS made me go back and read the content that is in season 2, and trust me when I say that the content you come to learn about is pretty substantial, all things considered. In Asa's own words, he described the result in a way that I believe can apply to a variety of series. That being, it's a good anime, but not the best adaptation. I can imagine that this is how a lot of people make.
That is a lot of anime. If you wanna describe anime, that's a good way to describe it. From manga, if you want to say from anime to manga, that's a great way to describe it. It's a good anime, but in terms of that source material, bro, it just pales in comparison, bro.
Who are really invested in all those details. Danmachi, The Eminence in Shadow, Mushoku Tensei, Shield Hero, they all got their cuts and scars among their adaptations. At the end of the day, there really isn't some clear-cut outline that can tell us.
He just remind me of Danmachi, bro. If you know about Danmachi, you know about Danmachi, bro. They really did Danmachi horrendous, bruh.
Us, what exactly makes something worth cutting from an adaptation, and even then, it'd probably come down to a case-by-case basis. Every series handles things differently, and some adaptations may come out better than others depending on the circumstances. Even when taking into consideration of pacing and episode counts, there's no way of telling how the discussions go behind the scenes, and thus all around making this a complicated issue to navigate altogether. A lot of people care about these details and information as it furthers the audience's understanding of the character or situation at hand. At the same time, majority of the anime-only audience, myself included, really do enjoy the anime adaptations, though we may not know how much impact the cut content may have on our experience. One could say that cut content is but a natural flaw when it comes to adapting pieces of media.
It is, like I said earlier, like you gotta come to terms. It's gonna happen, bruh. Like cut content is gonna happen. Whether it's the little bit is, whether it's a huge slice of the pie, it's gonna happen, man. That's just how it is.
Yeah, but even if that were the case, should it be one of those situations that overall is what it is? If it ends up negatively impacting the story later on, should it be overlooked because we know the adaptation can't squeeze everything in there, or is there something that should be looked at to be tackled someday? I think being able to tell a story to the fullest is very important, but a major factor to top it off is that if you want more of something in this industry, it's gonna get pricey, and that right there is a kill blow for a lot of final decisions. With that though, will bring me to the end of this video. As always, thank you for watching, and make sure to leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Yeah, look, cut content, problem, bro. Absolutely. But we gotta take a note from the West, bro. And I think like it's case by case scenario. Do the West adapt every single book perfectly? Absolutely not. But some they do way better than others. And I think like, they do movies, they do TV shows, and most of the time they do them pretty good. and there's no reason why anime can't do it the same. You know, it's just like trying to cut corners, trying to reach certain amount of time limits and episode counts. Like, we just got to make sure that's not a factor. Like, if you're gonna turn God of High School into an anime, don't do it if it's only gonna be one season. You know you're not fitting thousands of anime, and I mean thousands of chapters into a fucking 12 episode series. You know, at that point, it's just a loss of money. Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Shogun, Castlevania, Dune, Hunger Games, yeah. Like, great examples. There's just plenty of examples of the West doing books so much justice. You know, anime has it too. Anime does some manga justice. They do some light novels justice. But we just got to get it across the board. We can't be having, you know, elite manga like Tokyo Ghoul and God of High School getting fucking shat on with their anime, bro. That's just not okay, bro. That's not okay. Let's not watch this yet. Alright, when anime arcs reach greatness.
Y'all seen the title. Y'all know how we get down. I ain't even going yet. 4 greatest arcs in anime. Let's get into it. First off, Marineford.
Alright, first of all, he clickbaited me with this title, which is okay. It's the 4 greatest arcs in anime, and he started off with Marineford. Now, I'm not gonna say nothing because, you know, y'all know me, One Piece history. I'm not gonna say anything negative about One Piece, but the other 3 animes that I better hear, you know, I'm just gonna say I don't want to see one particular anime on this list. That's all I'm saying.
I know about 40% of y'all are watching and clapping your hands right now in agreement. For my other 60%, y'all gotta give Marineford its flowers. Because this arc had just about everything you could ask for in an arc, except maybe romance. But besides that, this arc was shonen incarnate. Now here on this channel, y'all know we love boxing and a good pull-up. And this arc was jam-packed with those. I mean, it was literally a war, so they had no choice but to throw fists. And man, were they throwing them hoes. They had all types of fights in this arc. They had jumping for the JJK fans. They had 1v1s for the Dragon Ball fans. They had a rescue mission for the Naruto fans. And giant size action for you AOT fans. Almost every fan base could enjoy the fights of this arc. Except for you, Pokemon.
That's crazy, because I'm a fan of all those animes. And I can't even get to that arc. That's all I'm going to say.
Fans, but y'all will be alright, man. And those pull-ups? Oda Sensei must have called in Kishimoto for this one, because everybody was pulling up on their ops like they had something to prove. Luffy posting up in front of the 3 admirals has got to be one of the most underrated shows of willpower in the show. Because y'all have to keep in mind, the Straw Hats already gotten soloed by an admiral not once, but
I appreciate the sub, Colin. I appreciate you, man.
Twice. And this man Mugiwara had the gall, the nerve, the balls to stand in front of not 1, not 2, but 3 of them. And that's not even all, bruh. Because a small detail y'all forget is the reason why Luffy had that
AOT fans are not AOT fans for giant size fighting. Hey, let them cook, bruh. Let them cook.
little wooden pole in the first place. As a Devil Fruit user, he's naturally weak to water. So whenever he got thrown by Jinbei in the ocean current, he naturally turned into a ragdoll. So he brought the pole to hang on for dear life while he was in that water, just to save his brother, bro. Nah, this arc is just peak, bro. And this isn't even the only cold pull-up, because honestly, Whitebeard's pull-up on Akainu low-key takes the cake from me, bruh. After Ace got packed up, Whitebeard pulled up on Akainu like he was the Undertaker. And honestly, he could have fooled me, because just like the Undertaker, bro just refused to die. And then the panel where he did
that, he used my line, bruh. I literally said that in the Taboo Tattoo video. I used that line already, bruh. Give me my flow back. I used that already.
And the narrator was just recounting all the injuries he took, bruh. That was so damn cold. And to top it off, bro was literally battling a terminal illness the whole war. Like literally, imagine if Arnold Schwarzenegger pulled up to the White House and started wreaking havoc, all while he had stage 4 cancer, bruh. Like, it sounds crazy on paper, but Whitebeard really did the same thing, bruh. And let's not forget about the man at the center of it all, Ace. Ace's rescue was so tough. Like when he got saved by Luffy, it was like a breath of fresh air. After all the stuff Luffy went through just to see this man, seeing them finally together boxing was just a treat. Like the smile on their faces as they relived their old times teaming up on Dawn Island was just so beautiful. But unlike a typical shonen, Ace's rescue mission did not end in success, but rather failure right in front of the finish line. And the way Oda did it was genius. Because as much as we bash Ace for turning around and facing Akainu, it was such a human moment. You're telling me the man that took you in as a son and risked his life to save you from your own mistake is being insulted, slandered even, and you're just gonna ignore it? Hell no! I'ma stand on business! And Ace did too. And it only makes sense, bro. Ace was watching powerless as his crewmates, his brother, and his allies fought and died on his behalf. You think he's just gonna run away while his pop stays back and fights everybody else off? No! I know it took everything he had.
Like, I'm not gonna say nothing because I know Marineford is like Marineford is considered one of those arcs, right? But can we just talk about how long it is? You spent 4 minutes talking about this arc, bro. Like this shit is long than a motherfucker. This shit better be good. How long this shit gotta be? You didn't just describe to me 10 different fights, and One Piece fashion. So them hoes were 20 episodes at least.
Just to not stay back and fight with Whitebeard. And then Akainu's insults were the straw that broke the camel's back. So Ace, if nobody understands you, just know I'm in your corner, brother, and I understand. But even though he had the platform, Ace just couldn't execute. And instead, he got employed as the mascot for Dunkin' Donuts, bro. And that brings me to my final point in this arc. Ace's death was and is one of the greatest moments in the show. The final dialogue he gives Luffy with his last breath, and just the
He kind of scared me there. He said one of the greatest moments, and I thought he was about to say in anime, but he said in the show, so I respect it.
Emotion in the scene is done so damn well. Luffy's reaction to the death was so real and well crafted. So many other shonen would have had Luffy get some random rage power up and box Akainu, but instead he breaks. His mind can't process it, so it shuts down. Honestly, that was a genius move from Oda, and an almost perfect sequence in my opinion. But my only gripe with this scene is the music choice. Cause yeah, it was somber, but it wasn't really provoking my tear glands, man. You throw some sadness and sorrow from the greatest soundtrack in all of anime, and this scene would have been peak. Say something again.
This nigga, look, as a tier 1 Bleach soundtrack glazer, I cannot skip by what you just said. You did not just call Naruto having the greatest soundtracks ever. You gotta go tap into Bleach. I'm sorry, buddy. I can't let that slide. I can't let that slide, buddy.
I dare you. Alright, let me chill out. But long story short, this arc was amazing. And I'm at the end of the segment here because I really don't want the vid to be 30 minutes long because we all know my laptop can't handle that. Next up, we got a hidden gem in the anime community because our next arc comes from one of the greatest uncrowned kings. Matter of fact, the greatest uncrowned king in shonen, Gintama. And this one was gonna be a little different.
All right, you're losing me. Greatest anime arcs ever, and we got Gintama on there.
Because when I was brainstorming, I couldn't choose between the Shogun assassination arc, the Farewell Shinsengumi arc, and the Battle of Rakuyo arc. So I just grabbed some Potara earrings and voila! 3 of the greatest arc turned into the greatest saga. But then while I was writing the script, the fusion ran out, so I chose to do the Shogun assassination arc. But fusion or not, this arc was really peak personified. First off, the animation. I don't know what they were feeding those animators, but all my Gintama fans know that after that anime break where the animation got updated, those animators were putting in their best work. Every fight was so crisp and...
So he's telling me 3 arcs from Gintama were fighting for top 4 arcs all time. That is indeed what he's telling you. He's telling you he couldn't decide between 3 Gintama arcs for the top 4 arcs of all time.
And after the
That's what he
first
said
200
out his
episodes
mouth.
of the original animation, this new one just felt so rewarding, bruh. Every sequence was like watching a movie. That's enough fanboying over the animation. Let's get down to the nitty gritty of this arc. Cause just like Marineford, this arc had everything you could ask for in a shonen anime. They were boxing, jumping, sneaking, plotting, dying, and anything else you could think of. But unlike Marineford, they had some comedy sprinkled out in the arc, and a dash of romance in the beginning of the previous arc. And that brings me to my next point. Cause the way this whole arc started was so random, it's actually crazy. Cause Gintoki was real life just chilling in Yoshiwara when Suzuran pulled up. And I'm like, okay, this is just a normal comedy episode. So I didn't think much about it. They had a whole gig about her dying, then suddenly she gonna start talking about the love of her life and how they made a pinky promise.
Look, I'm gonna just tell you, when this episode better have the best 360 no scope plot twist I ever seen in my life, bro. No greatest arc of all time starting like this, bro.
Then Gintoki makes his own pinky promise to help her find her man. And I'm like, my scouter is sensing something. But at the same time, it's Gintama, bro. They just gonna find her man at a homeless shelter and call it a day. But oh boy, was I wrong. Cause somehow, in the span of 2 episodes, they go from looking for some old lady's lover to waging war against the entire country. Like, bro, this show is so random and I love it, bro. Anyways, the arc itself. One thing I had to highlight is the build up for these arcs. Fights like Gintoki versus Takasugi and Kagura versus Kamui were hyped up the entire
Gintama is peak
show, and you could just feel the tension when they faced off, especially in Gintoki versus Takasugi, because it was really on sight for these goons. Tell me how Gintoki just finished fighting an entire army of the strongest race in the universe to the point where he was out there rocking the Eren exclusive. Had my dog out there looking like he was king. But once he sees Takasugi, he gets straight to business. And when I say business, I mean business, because they were boxing. I'm talking hit for hit. Naruto versus Sasuke type beat. Like, just look at them. Brody has the world's largest toothpick sticking out of his shoulder, and he's smiling.
Bro, I've seen this fight like 5 times. Don't ever compare this shit to Naruto versus Sasuke again in your motherfucking life. Don't ever do that shit. Please, don't do that.
Like, oh nah, bruh. Brother is disturbed. And one thing about Gintama fights is that once they start, they don't stop till somebody's covered in a whole lot of red, no cardio. Like, look at them. Bro standing up ready to box like he doesn't have 2 blades sticking out of his body. Like, my boy, I know your organs out there looking like sliced brisket. Go to sleep. But nah, Brody gonna keep fighting till the end, and I love it. But even though the fights were crazy in this saga, the best part was surprisingly the flashbacks. Like, usually when you see a flashback in the middle of a good fight, you start to get that twitch in your eye and freak out, you know what I'm saying? But for this, nah. Every flashback was like turning up the volume in your car from 14 to 50. It wasn't much, but it somehow just puts you at ease. 200 episodes worth of tension were released in every flashback, and it just deepened the story even further. Both Gintoki and Kagura's flashback.
Wait, how many episodes is this arc? You better not tell me this arc is 200 episodes. I better must have misunderstood you there. I'm just gonna assume that I misunderstood you.
Felt like you were watching a prequel series to the show. They were so fleshed out and so well done. Nothing was rushed, and it made the present fights feel that much sweeter. And even though I've been talking about the MCs this whole time, it's not even the main characters that hog the spotlight, because this arc was literally about the Shogun and the Oniwa Banshu. Characters that served as mainly gags for the entire show, especially the Shogun. The way this arc took previously sidelined characters and crafted one of the greatest arcs in anime in just 8 episodes is legendary. Like, imagine if Oda randomly made a 12 episode arc about the Buggy Pirates and somehow it came out to be better than Wano. That's the type of pen work I'm talking about, bruh. With that being said, let's return to some mainstream.
So it's 7 episodes? So this arc is 7 episodes. It's either 7 or 200. I can't, you won't give me a count.
Because next up, we got the Sasuke retrieval arc, and man.
Okay, he's spinning. You went 1 for 3, bruh. You're 1 for 3 right now.
Man, I know I said this a lot, but this was some big shonen. I'm sorry. Most Naruto fans will tell you that this arc is where boys became men. But if you want to talk about hands, this arc had it in excess. Everybody was throwing fists in this arc. And the best part was, they were giving love to the other members of the Konoha 11.
This is literally the best arc in Naruto, bro. I do not care. You can fight me. I'll stand on this hill 50 toes. Best arc in Naruto, bro. It's not even close.
Kiba, and Shikamaru ready for smoke. And they even gave my dog Shino a shout out too. Gave him his flowers as one of the strongest getting in the leaf. And I was all for, honestly, because that's my guy. After that pain post, I had to give my dog the respect he deserved. But enough about Shino, because we got bigger fish to fry. Like I said, everybody was boxing in this arc. And the fights themselves were all top class anime. There wasn't any flashy animation or visual effects, but the strategizing, the flashbacks, and even the tight matchups were all so well thought out that you didn't even need any crazy animation. Take for example, Neji versus Kidomaru. They was really going hit for... Who is it? I said who is it?
What did you just do? You just cooked a bit. You just cooked. Why did you just do that? This is not hitting.
Oh, I thought we was doing Naruto? Nah. Had to bring out yet another.
Oh, so you lied? So you just lied. So now you're about to go 2 for. Now you're about to go 0 for 3. I can see it already.
Another uncrowned king on y'all. Because after that Dragon Ball and One Piece collab, y'all seem to have forgotten about Toriko. And that's really a tragedy. But to be fair, Toriko really played itself by cutting the anime off at the best part, the gourmet world. Because if you think the human world is crazy.
Look, look, some people on this planet just do not deserve to have an anime opinion. And unfortunately, this is just one of them, bro. You did not just psych the best arc in Naruto for this shit right here, boy. You did not just fucking do that.
Crazy. Oh my goodness. Let's get into it. First thing I want to point out, the gourmet world follows a similar trope found in shonen like Hunter x Hunter and One Piece, where the cast enters a new world completely alien to the previous one, but on the same planet. We see this with the new world in One Piece and the dark continent in Hunter x Hunter. And just like in One Piece, because Hunter x Hunter is, we don't even know where that arc is, the new world blows the old one out of the water. But enough build up, let's dive in. First up, the world building in this arc. Man, people give One Piece credit for its world building, but Toriko? I think it takes the cake in this category. And I'm talking like purely like geographical world building and like interspecies world building, not really lore or any of that, because One Piece had 1,000 chapters to do it, so I would hope it has the best one. Anyways, every chapter gives you a new tidbit of information into the world. From the little info cards we get on the various species at the end of each chapter, to the narrator boxes throughout the chapters that describe the various creatures, every new beast gets like introduced as a real character, not just some random creature on the ground. And it just feels so refreshing. Now maybe it's because I've been an animal maniac my entire life, so that might be why I love this arc so much. I'm talking like
no, maybe because your anime opinion's dirt.
Right after Cartoon Network, it was Nat Geo Wild, Animal Fight Night, Shark Week, Our Planet, Planet Earth, Hippo vs. Croc, everything you didn't know about animals. Like I was on.
Yeah, you're just a weirdo. You're just a weirdo.
That. But you don't even have to be an animal maniac to enjoy the way Mitsutoshi crafted this world. Panels like this just keep your eyes glued to the page, and I love it. I'm gonna throw some panels like this throughout the whole entire like commentary just to give y'all an idea of what I mean as we dive into the next topic. Cause the real highlight in this arc was the 8 kings. When I tell you these 8 animals low-key clear a plethora of side characters in anime, I'm being so for real. And I'm not talking about in power, so you can delete all your Vegeta solos out of the comment section. But Mitsutoshi really dipped his pen in pixie dust before he wrote these creatures, because every panel with them had me floating. And if you read this arc, you'll understand why as well. Because when I tell you these animals are the definition of aura, oh my gosh. I'm gonna just give y'all some examples just to help y'all understand the magnitude of these guys and how tough they are. Exhibit A, the Nightmare Heracles. Now I'm gonna just call it the Nightmare Hercules or just Hercules for short, because I really don't like saying the Greek version of the name. It just pisses me off. Anyways, we gotta drop this one on the list because I've never seen aura quite on a level like this, bro. Like, so many people hype up Sukuna for his entrance in Shibuya, but honestly, that scene doesn't even compare to what the Hercules did. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because Toriko and them were really just cruising across the land when suddenly they started to weaken. And I'm like, damn, bruh. Did they like stumble across like the 8 Kings home or something? Comes to find out, they were losing their marbles over a hoof print, bro. And not just any hoof print, a hoof print from thousands of years ago. When I read this, I was like, nah, bruh. I know I'm in for some peak. And before we move on to Exhibit B, y'all drop in the comments any better aura feats you can think of in fiction in general, because this is just number 1 for me. And when I say aura, I don't mean like, oh, the power system aura, or like the, take for example, Aizen spiritual crushing somebody with his Ryatsu. No, I'm talking about my presence, like me being alive in your vicinity is so strong, it makes you tweak out. Like, I'm talking my existence makes you tweak.
But I'm about to turn this shit off, bro. I'm about to dead ass turn this shit off, bro. You've officially lost me.
Yeah, not like my power or anything like that. You get what I'm saying? Alright, let's move on to Exhibit B. Now this one gonna be a compilation because all of these 8 Kings are just aura incarnate anyways. And they're gonna have a spoiler warning attached to them, so please just proceed with caution. Anyways, Toriko and the Nightmare Hercules are about to throw hands. Hercules was so strong, she had Toriko out there hyping himself up like he Piccolo, talking about some
Yes, 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 I can win, I feel great, I can do this.
just to muster up his courage. And after all that false courage, Hercules proceeded to one-shot him with a snort. Like, is that not insane? Who do you know that can one-shot their MC?
Alright, next. That video is some garbage. That video is some garbage. We got former fighter ranks Jujutsu Kaisen fights.
So I found an MMA fighter with actual fighting experience who also happens to be an anime hater. Christian has a background in fighting, like an actual literal background in fighting. He could most likely whoop your ass. So I'll be showing Christian characters from Jujutsu Kaisen from some of their most iconic fights, and we'll see if he thinks he can win them.
I got him, man.
He thinks he can win them? So he's not about to win a singular fight? That's what you're telling me?
He's very confident. I'll be showing Christian some of the most iconic fights from Jujutsu Kaisen and showing him the characters in those fights. And from there, you tell me if you think you could beat either one of them in a fight and who you think would win the fight I'm about to show you.
So in reality, you're just asking me, who will I fight first?
So first up, we've got our main character, Yuji, versus...
Oh, it's over. I got him.
You think you got him?
I look like the evil version of him.
Yeah, you're his Shadow the Hedgehog.
That's such a suboptimal stance too. Hands far away from your face. You're not even covering your body.
Yeah, he looked like he milking a cow.
Chin out. Dude, it's over. Yeah, dude, this stance, you're just asking to get inside leg kicked because there's nothing you can do about it. Hey, hypothetically, if he took that stance and I went in for an inside leg kick, all of his weight is distributed so far, so it would take 2 steps for him to check it. So I'd kick him right in his knee, or like right in the side of the knee, or right in the calf. Maybe I can even kick him in the calf. With this stance, I
watched this, he just yapping. Yeah, he's just yapping. He's obviously just yapping because that nigga's gonna kick him in the knee, and Itadori's just gonna look at him like, who the fuck just touched me?
Free anywhere in the middle of the leg. And then that back leg is so far back, it's over. It's over. And your hands are not covering your face.
He hasn't even shown his contender. The person he fights in this clip is a character named Chozo. So just based off the look, you think you beat him in a fight?
Him? He has serrated elbows, so in the clinch... In the clinch, it might be a problem. That short elbow
he might
like
stab
this,
you, brother.
that might hurt.
Yeah, that might do some damage,
Yeah.
actually.
I think I'd be more scared of him. I'd probably put my money on him.
Okay, so you think he'll win this fight? Okay.
Oh,
that's his blood.
He can shoot blood.
Ew, bro. What if this was Magic Johnson?
Oh, hell no. What am I watching?
That's an automatic win.
That's what
Damn.
Damn.
That's what I said, bro.
Oh yeah, if that's Magic Johnson.
Ooh, bro, if that's Magic Johnson, it's a wrap. It's over.
He's not even watching, bro. All right, I didn't think this was what this was gonna be, bro. On to the last video, bro. We got Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds was ahead of its time. Now I get, there's some people in this community that like to clown me for liking Yu-Gi-Oh! And now you're about to sit here and watch why Yu-Gi-Oh's 5D was one of the best Yu-Gi-Ohs to ever touch the screen.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is one of those shows that always has me scratching my head. Ever since I started my YouTube channel, I've been bombarded with comments about how 5Ds is the best of all Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, and how there's not even a close second. I just couldn't get over the zany concept of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards being played with while riding on motorcycles. Can you really blame me? I started with Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, which took us from a rich guy's island with a castle to ancient Egypt. Then Yu-Gi-Oh! GX came along and put all of our duelists in school, and now they're racing each other on motorcycles. Even as a kid, I thought this was the goofiest thing ever. It's a real shame too, because I've always believed that the cards to come from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds were nothing short of amazing. To this day, the Signer Dragons are among my favorite to collect. And while Ghost Rare cards were technically introduced during the GX era, it wasn't until the introduction of Synchro Monsters with 5Ds that they truly hit their stride. And even though a large portion of these monsters were Dragon type, I never grew tired of them because the designs were incredibly creative. The character designs were also really cool, and I also liked the setting. I just couldn't wrap my head around those pesky motorcycles. Now here's the part where I tell you that I finally watched Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and I was pleasantly surprised. But is it the best of all Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime? We'll delve deeper into that later on. First, I need to set some ground rules. In this video, my focus will be on the Japanese version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds anime. I never got around to watching the English version, so I can't comment on the extent of the differences. But considering it was 4Kids handling the English dub, I can only imagine that there are some variations. There's also the important fact that the last season of 5Ds never even received an English dub. And since we're discussing the Japanese version, you can expect to hear different names for some of the characters, cards, locations, and really anything else. And one last thing before we continue, do yourself a favor by subscribing to this YouTube channel. Trust me, you won't regret it. When I reflect on the golden days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, and even the less exciting times of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, it's pretty obvious that friendship was the driving force behind many of the characters. The 5 pieces of Exodia symbolize the unity of Yugi's friend group. Yes, I'm counting Yami as the 5th person, and this unity is what led to victory over Kaiba, which not only gave Yugi his grandpa back, but also put an end to Kaiba's evil behavior. In Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, when Manjome loses to Judai, he stops looking down on people, eventually becomes friends with Judai.
I literally hate the Japanese names. I always get reminded that they call him Judai instead of Jaden, bro.
And then he almost beats Judai when they finally rematch. He loses on purpose for reasons I won't get into right now, so technically he was gonna win, but you get the point. Friendship is power in Yu-Gi-Oh! There are countless examples of this in every series, but 5Ds takes a slightly different approach. Friendship is certainly a major factor in the series, but it's almost like they flipped the script. Instead of using the protagonist to guide others through kindness and the joy of playing games, the story begins as a cautionary tale. In the opening scene of the first episode, we are introduced to Jack Atlas as he enters a packed stadium to defend his title, the King of D-Wheelers, which is essentially the king of games in this world. As Jack defeats his opponent, we cut to a scene of a cheering crowd. Fans watching on a big screen from outside the stadium, and a city collectively celebrating Jack's victory. Then we jump to Satellite District, a rundown wasteland where no cheers can be heard. This is where we meet our protagonist, Yusei Fudo, and we discover that Jack is from Satellite District and the two of them are very good friends. At least they were, until one day Jack stole Yusei's D-Wheel along with a certain card of his before fleeing the district. Then the next time Yusei saw Jack, he was being crowned the King of D-Wheels, and he did so using the stolen items. For a while, the first arc feels like a revenge story where the protagonist desperately tries to take back what was rightfully his. I can't stress enough how different this character dynamic is from the typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Rivalry. While people often draw parallels between Jack and Kaiba since they're both rival characters in their respective series, Jack's character bears a closer resemblance to Joey Wheeler, albeit with a dark twist. Imagine if the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters concluded with Joey becoming envious of Yugi. After witnessing the power of Exodia and his own helplessness in saving his sister's eyesight, he then pilfers the 5 pieces of Exodia along with Yugi's entry items for Duelist Kingdom. Then he makes his way to the island alone, and once there he is able to defeat Pegasus and become the king of games. Now Yugi must overcome Joey in order to rescue his grandpa and even the score. I know that sounds absurd considering their close friendship, but much like Joey and Yugi, Jack and Yusei were very close friends. Everything changed when Jack saw an opportunity to escape Satellite and realize his dream. And while it is hard to pin 5Ds as a revenge story, it certainly has one of the better depictions of it in the realm of anime. When Yusei gets his card back and finally defeats Jack, there's no celebration, no sense of joy, or even a sigh of relief. Instead, Yusei's victory only serves to divide them further. Before the climactic face-off in the city, we see Jack waiting with bated breath for their reunion, as if he knew that his past actions would catch up to him and couldn't wait to settle the score. But when Jack is defeated decisively, the rivalry is completely shattered. His competitive spirit crumbles, and since he was defeated on the world stage by a nobody from Satellite District, his title of king has been replaced with fraud. Even when Jack offers his reasons for betraying Yusei, it does him no favors. If anything, it makes Jack look even worse, because it confirms that he was only acting in self-interest. Consequently, Jack suffers from a crisis of identity, while Yusei's deep-seated trust issues continue to linger. It's not until much later, when the two are forced to team up, that they're finally able to begin the process of rebuilding their fractured bond. This level of nuance isn't limited to just Jack
Like it's them
and
dark
Yusei.
signers.
Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds
Niggas
is
don't
full
know
of
about the dark
complex
signers. Let me
characters
tell
with
you,
unique
bruh.
circumstances.
Let me tell you about the dark signers. There's evil groups in anime, and then there's the dark signers.
That
all I'm gonna say.
ultimately draw them together. Let's revisit that divide between Satellite District and Neo Domino City that I touched on earlier. When I mentioned that nobody cheers for Jack in Satellite, it's because Satellite's residents are regarded as scum and treated as second-class citizens by those in the city. But, of course, 5Ds isn't content with such simple distinctions. Even within the city, there's a hierarchy, with certain groups of people enduring worse treatment than others. Take Aki, for example. She's the daughter of a prominent politician, which should land her at the top of the social hierarchy. However, she has a unique power: the ability to materialize duel monsters and employ their effects beyond the confines of the game. After her powers manifest, she's packed off to a boarding school because she can't control them. Her situation swiftly worsens when she gets there, leading her to flee the school. Along the way, she encounters a man named Divine, who's the founder of Arcadia Movement, a secret organization that initially seems like a sanctuary for psychics. But, as it often goes, things aren't so simple. Arcadia Movement is, in reality, a military organization with the aim of creating an army of psychics to overthrow Neo Domino City. The organization's leader intends to exact revenge on the rest of civilization for the mistreatment of his people. And just like that, a girl born into affluence who should have had every advantage finds herself ensnared by a terrorist organization. From being on top of the world with a loving family, to alone and afraid. Turned into a living tool for a homicidal maniac, simply because he offered her a semblance of love when no one else would. Fortunately for Aki, at some point Divine goes missing and Arcadia Movement crumbles practically overnight. Shortly after, Aki is informed of Arcadia's crimes and initially denies any involvement, but eventually she admits that she was aware of what was happening, yet chose to turn a blind eye because Divine made her feel loved when no one else did. To atone for her association with Arcadia Movement, Aki joins forces with Yusei and Jack to protect those who once repudiated her due to her psychic curse. And even though all of Satellite's residents are viewed equally as low-life scum by those in the city, there are various different factions within the district that are constantly at odds with each other. First, we need to understand how the divide occurred in the first place. About 17 years prior to the events of the first episode, an underground reactor called Moment, which provides power to the city, malfunctioned and exploded.
See, this is what I say. When I say 5Ds is the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, look at all this story, bruh. Like, original Yu-Gi-Oh! DX in particular. Like, they just don't compare. I don't know about the new Yu-Gi-Ohs. I'm never going to watch them. Zexal, Link 1, I'm never watching them hoes, bro. I don't know why they keep dropping new Yu-Gi-Ohs, but 5Ds is the best. I don't care.
Caused the ground beneath the city to rupture, dividing Neo Domino City into two parts. One, which we still refer to as the city, and the other, a much smaller part, became known as Satellite District. Although they are technically still one city, the only remaining connection is a pipeline through which the city sends trash to the district to be compacted and processed by its residents. Sometime after the separation, the city began sending criminals to Satellite District as a new form of punishment, where they were forced to work in the factories. Along with the criminals came a new police force to keep them in check, and as the criminal population grew, the district gained a reputation as a prison camp of sorts. But given that the separation occurred only 17 years ago, there are still many decent people who live in the district, either by chance having been there when the malfunction occurred, or by birth in the time since. Unfortunately, this fact is lost on the police hailing from the city, which, as we are well aware, harbors a distorted perception of the district, resulting in the police treating everyone under their watch as criminal scum. The tyranny from the criminals and the city police, who initially were supposed to protect the civilians from the criminals, led to the formation of several gangs, most of which would simply fight over territory that ultimately did not belong to them, but some had more noble causes. Interestingly enough, Yusei and Jack were once part of one of these groups, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. When Yusei becomes king of games, the government assigns a police escort to watch over him when he travels, and the guy in charge of protecting him is Ushio, the same officer who patrolled Yusei's part of the district. He's also the same guy from chapter 1 of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, but that's a whole other thing. Much like all the other police officers from Neo Domino City, Ushio harbors a deep disdain for the people of Satellite, seemingly deriving pleasure from acts of oppression. But when Yusei pays a visit to his old foster home, Ushio is forced to tag along and he starts to open up. Despite initially wanting no part of it as he can't stand being around what he perceives as scum, things take a turn when Ushio discovers that one of the foster children aspires to be a police officer. This revelation is mind-blowing for Ushio, as even in the city, the police are often met with hatred and fear, yet this foster child in Satellite District views him as a real-life superhero. From this point onward, Ushio starts to see Satellite's residents in a different light, to the extent that he even risks his own life to protect them, for the first time ever realizing his role as a purveyor of justice. Now, I know 5Ds isn't the first anime to tackle heavy themes like vengeance, classism, and breaking the cycle of hatred, and I could certainly name some anime that do it even better. But it was quite the shock to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all anime, and especially the one with motorcycles, tackle these weighty subjects and manage to earn my appreciation while doing so. Discussing topics like these in the context of a franchise primarily designed to sell trading cards is a challenging task and can easily devolve into pretentiousness. We cross. But 5Ds pulled it off surprisingly well. Now let's shift our focus to one of the more underrated aspects of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds: symbolism, particularly as it pertains to the monster cards. As I mentioned in the introduction of this video, I've always been a fan of the cards, long before I finally made the decision to watch the anime. But what truly stands out about the cards is how they are employed in the show, and I'm not talking about the battles. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D stands as the only anime where the cards themselves serve as a reflection of character development. There were hints of this in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, particularly with Exodia, but the cards in the original series had fairly straightforward meanings. Pegasus, for example, used Toon Monsters because of his love for cartoons and his eccentric personality. Mako, a fisherman, utilized the legendary fisherman. Rex Raptor used dinosaur cards. And you get the idea.
Simple.
But 5Ds took this concept to the next level with the Signer Dragons, which is basically just an umbrella term for the signature cards used by the main characters. Let's start with Black Rose Dragon. The design is based on roses, which are generally considered to be harmless, yet they also have thorns, making them prickly, capable of causing harm if approached carelessly. This symbolism, obviously, is intended to reflect Aki's personality, but the effect of the monster is also very telling. When this card is summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field, itself included. Black Rose's self-destructive effect mirrors Aki's own psychic powers, which can be equally as destructive to herself as they are to her surroundings.
I didn't even think about it like
Yusei's
this.
monster, Stardust Dragon, doesn't tell us much about the user at a glance. If anything, it reminds me of Frieza's third form in Dragon Ball. But the effect of the card highlights a key trait of Yusei's character. You contribute this card to negate the activation of a card or effect that destroys a card or cards on the field. Simply put, Stardust Dragon can be sacrificed in order to protect other cards from being destroyed. Throughout the anime, Yusei consistently assumes the burdens of others, occasionally at the risk of his own life. In the first episode, a boy named Rally presents Yusei with an upgrade for his D-wheel motorcycle. When Yusei discovers that it was stolen, he willingly accepts the blame for the crime. In another instance, when Yusei's old friend Crow tries to join Yusei in his battle with the Dark Signers, Yusei instructs him to stay out of it. Later in the arc, during a life or death duel forced upon Yusei and Rally, Yusei tries to lose intentionally. His readiness to extend himself for the sake of others is prevalent, and the effect of his signature card is emblematic of this trait. But everything changes when an old friend of Yusei's named Kiryu resurfaces. Remember when I mentioned that Yusei and Jack were a part of a gang in Satellite District? Kiryu served as the group's leader, and he and Yusei shared a close friendship. However, as the gang gained prominence, Kiryu's mental state deteriorated, leading to the group's dissolution. Things came to a head when Kiryu attempted to take out a police station in the district. Yusei, upon learning of Kiryu's plans, sought to aid Kiryu's escape and then turned himself in to assume responsibility for the attack, but the plan failed. And during Kiryu's arrest, he saw Yusei with the chief of police and assumed Yusei had been working with the authorities all along. Now released from incarceration, Kiryu harbors intentions of exacting revenge on Yusei. Upon their eventual reunion, Kiryu forces Yusei into a life or death duel. Although Yusei loses the duel, a malfunction in his own vehicle spares him from certain demise. As a result of this defeat, Yusei goes into a deep depression, having now failed twice to save Kiryu and apprehensive about dueling again due to the potential loss of his own life. After spending some time with the other signers, Jack in particular, Yusei comes to the realization that he's actually been a bad friend. The real reason he couldn't save Kiryu in the first place is he didn't believe in their bond. Yusei had denied Kiryu the opportunity to learn from his mistakes, opting instead to absolve Kiryu of all responsibility and shoulder the blame himself. When Yusei and Kiryu duel again, Yusei summons Stardust Dragon, and then it evolves into a new, more powerful monster called Majestic Star Dragon. This new card has two effects. The first mirrors Stardust Dragons, requiring self-destruction to protect another card, while the second does not necessitate self-sacrifice. Yusei wins the duel by employing the second effect, signifying a transformation in his character. Now, the act of summoning new ace monsters during battles for a last-minute victory is a common trope in Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, but these moments are typically lacking in terms of impact, as they often symbolize nothing beyond the generic theme of the power of friendship. Even Exodia in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, though it's a favorite example of mine, fails to match the depth conveyed by Stardust Dragon and Majestic Star Dragon. The former symbolizes Yusei's greatest strength, the willingness to shoulder others' burdens, and then as Yusei comes to realize that friendship's true power lies in the belief in one another, Majestic Star Dragon redefines this strength as a vulnerability. Yusei didn't defend his friends simply because that's what friends do. Rather, he did so because he lacked faith in their bond. And just like the other Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, there's a duel in almost every episode with new characters and a lot of new cards. So there are still a ton of monsters that have zero significance beyond their role in a duel, and those that do often exhibit surface level relevance. For example, Crow uses Crow-themed cards. But the character Crow is named after a famous Japanese general, so his cards have nothing to do with his personality or character arc. It's just a clever play on words. I know I tend to emphasize the importance of a strong supporting cast quite a lot in my Yu-Gi-Oh! Videos, and that's because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about friendship. But a lot of the time, the friends, aka the supporting cast, they tend to fall to the wayside fairly early on with few exceptions. The original series was practically the Yugi and Joey show featuring Kaiba, and while Yu-Gi-Oh! GX was better at highlighting the supporting characters, a lot better in fact, most of them were phased out after a single arc, reduced to background characters. Manjome doesn't do much after he defeats his brothers, Sho is basically a cheerleader until one of the last arcs, and Hayato, who had one of the more interesting stories, was literally replaced at the end of Season 1 with a more annoying version of Sho. But to my surprise, this problem is almost non-existent in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. A lot of that has to do with the way friendship is depicted in 5Ds. It takes a lot more for Yusei to acquire his friends in the first place, and the one he started with doesn't really count as a friend. But more importantly, the show does a fantastic job of making each of Yusei's friends irreplaceable. With the exception of Jack, I feel that any one of the signers, and even some of the other side characters, could replace Yusei as the lead and the show would be just as good. In fact, the story wouldn't be much different at all because so much of it hinges on the world building and the themes that we discussed earlier in this video. Of course, the power of friendship is still at the core of the series, but this time, the concept is more nuanced. It's not limited to the main character with a few exceptions here and there. It's a power that can be harnessed by any one of the signers. The reason some of the main characters are called signers to begin with is they all have a unique birthmark that is actually a piece of a legendary dragon called the Crimson Dragon. When Yusei and the other signers finally come to understand each other, each of the signer marks disappears and a new one is born. One that only appears during battles when a signer is in a desperate situation and needs the help of his comrades. Essentially, it's the same concept as Exodia, only executed a bit differently, and in my opinion, far better. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, Exodia is only used one time, and it's in the very beginning of the series, but the Crimson Dragon comes into play multiple times. And I love the fact that the signers are a bunch of misfits who were kind of forced to team up because of their marks, instead of the other way around, since the concept of found family is so important in Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. Despite the show's success in intertwining profound subjects like breaking the cycle of hatred with trading card promotion, it faces a unique challenge. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds straddles the line between addressing serious themes and maintaining its identity as a children's show. As a result of this delicate balance, there were more than a few times where I found myself laughing out loud at things that were clearly not supposed to be funny. It's a bit like playing Shadow the Hedgehog. If you're unfamiliar with this game, it's a Sonic game where you play as Shadow instead of Sonic, allowing for morally ambiguous actions like aligning with villains and using weapons. And this isn't really an issue of morality, but Shadow even curses when he takes damage. Damn it. While Shadow embodies an edgier persona within the Sonic franchise, his character remains part of the Sonic universe. Similarly, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds introduces an edgy and cool vibe to the Yu-Gi-Oh! franchise, yet, as with Shadow, there are limits to how far this dynamic can be pushed. A big reason for why it feels this way is something I like to call One Piece syndrome. Basically, there's this phenomenon in One Piece where one of the characters will appear to die, usually in the beginning of a story arc, and it's not just implied that they're dead. You'd be crazy to think they're still alive because of just how insane the circumstances are. But every time, without fail, the same character will appear at the end of the arc as if nothing even happened. In the beginning of the Skypiea arc, an old man is struck by God himself from the skies above. But that doesn't stop him from celebrating Luffy's victory at the end of the arc. Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds does pretty much the same thing. Early in the show's story, Yusei meets a character named Saiga, who has a tragic backstory. Saiga was a competitive D-wheeler, and one day while racing, he made a mistake that caused his teammate to crash straight into a wall, causing the vehicle to explode on impact.
Damn.
They literally show this while he's talking to Yusei about how his friend will never be able to duel again. Saiga also carries a burned up card that belonged to his ex-partner. But a few episodes later, Yusei meets Saiga again, and when he mentions the incident with his old friend, they show a different version of the same flashback. This time, his friend can be seen jumping out of the vehicle right before it crashes. This is next level deception, because it's not like Saiga didn't know the full story and now he's telling Yusei the new version of it. He's telling him the same thing, and they're showing us a different version of the flashback while he's telling us the same story. By the way, the English dub censored the first flashback by removing the explosion entirely, so this specific example doesn't exist in the English dub, but the fact that it was censored further demonstrates my point. Even the editors thought that the character was dying and they didn't want to show it. I'm about to spoil something major for this next example, so skip to the time on screen if you want to avoid that. Remember when I mentioned that the leader of Arcadia Movement went missing? That's technically true, but explaining it that way doesn't tell the whole story. The reason Divine was labeled as missing is he fell from the top of a skyscraper after losing a shadow game. And the reason Aki was willing to join Yusei and Jack right away is she witnessed his fall and naturally assumed that he was gonna die. But of course, that's not what happened.
He came
because
back.
At the end of the arc, Divine returns. Now, some might argue that Divine needed to return in order to bring Aki's character arc to its conclusion, and I kind of agree with that. But Aki doesn't even get to face him. The moment they're reunited, Divine uses psychic powers to control her mind. Then Yusei comes in and saves the day. So not only are they bringing a character back from the dead, they're using him to undercut Aki's story arc. Another issue, which is arguably even bigger than the first, is the motorcycles.
It's hard to
This
take the
guy
battle
hates the
seriously when
motorcycles,
they
bruh.
look so ridiculous. I mean, it's bad enough that they're settling their problems with card games, but it's easy to let that slide because I know what I'm signing up for when I'm watching Yu-Gi-Oh! But adding this extra layer of motorcycles just takes things to a different level. First of all, they're not even racing. There are some exceptions to this, but nearly every riding duel is just a duel where both players are going in circles or a straight line until somebody runs out of life points. But that's not even the worst part. Again, there are some exceptions, but in almost every riding duel, the motorcycles are put into autopilot as soon as a duel begins. This is certainly more realistic than playing card games while driving at the same time, but I figured the purpose of the riding duels was to add a sense of danger. You can't always use magic to create tension in Yu-Gi-Oh! That'll get stale very quickly. So it makes sense that the duels get more creative with each Yu-Gi-Oh! Spin-off. But none of that matters if the vehicles are driving themselves. And it's so disappointing because the duels that don't use autopilot are incredible. Some of the enemies start manipulating the tracks during riding duels, causing autopilot to become a detriment. This forces the duelist to disable autopilot, and when this first happened, I was so excited. The motorcycles were finally coming into play, and since the characters were driving for real now, some of them were able to get more shine than others since driving was treated as a whole new skill. In a way, it felt like the show was just getting started. But they only do it a handful of times, and it doesn't start happening until the second half of the Dark Signers arc, so it ends up being far too little, far too late. Although I can't complain too much because a lot of the battles take place in the regular dueling style with no motorcycles involved. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't detract from the show at least a little bit. The final complaint I'll give concerns the second half of the show. It's terrible. The Dark Signers arc is fantastic, and while I don't hold it in quite the same regard as the Battle City arc, I could see why so many people consider it to be the best of all Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Suffice to say, this arc is a tough act to follow, but it ends in episode 65 out of 154, and after episode 65, the show takes a massive nosedive in terms of just about everything. Character relationships that were meticulously set up over the course of prior arcs and established by the end completely fall apart. In some instances, they're treated as if they never even happened, reverting back to square one. Even the monster designs fall off of a cliff. The show pivots away from the dragon theme and leans into the racing and technology side of things. At first, I thought this was going to be cool since the riding duels were only just starting to get interesting at the end of the Dark Signers arc. But the motorcycles stay in autopilot for nearly every duel, and the races are in circles. And the worst part is that the rest of the show is a gigantic tournament arc. We already had a tournament arc, and it was a good one. They did a fantastic job of building up the world that these characters operate in, only to spend more than half of the runtime driving in circles. It honestly feels like the writers were stuck with a bunch of time slots to fill, but had no idea what to do with the story. And I kinda get it, because the Dark Signers was so conclusive. Pretty much all of the goals that were set out by the heroes in the beginning of the series were accomplished. Yusei learned from the mistakes of his past, the Signers won the war, Yusei, Jack, and Crow have been reunited, and Neo Domino City has been made whole again. They should have ended the show there.
But they didn't.
I understand why they didn't. They needed to sell those Yu-Gi-Oh cards. But I can't recommend anyone continue watching after the Dark Signers arc. It's not completely unwatchable, but the enjoyable bits are few and far between. After episode 65, it feels like the studio is just dragging around the corpse of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds to sell a product. But those are just my thoughts. Subscribe for more videos.
That's what Yu-Gi-Oh!
Check out
does,
the Anime
bruh.
Authority podcast.
It comes out with fucking 3 more series that they don't need to drop to sell more Yu-Gi-Oh! cards, bruh. Typical Yu-Gi-Oh! Bruh. So it's not surprising that they did it there. Alright, let's go through the Discord real quick. It's been a second since I've been through here. Bruh. I accidentally marked this as red, so I gotta go through and see what I haven't fucking seen. Alright, let's start with the memes. Bruh. I don't remember this. Did I see this? I don't remember this either. I remember this. Start with this one.
Was that Aaron Yeager? Pretty cool.
What? Oh, okay, I get it. Head ass. Angry Hezzy, MP4. What the fuck is this about to be?
God damn it, and you niggas with relatability, bro. What do you need to relate to a villain for? Nigga, do you relate with Thanos?
Is that a fan plug-in?
What?
That's what you think. No, this guy Rick, bruh. Rick. That's what you think. You really put a do-rag on Flight and then morph my face in there to try to make him look like me? Are we serious, Rick? Leave me alone, Rick. God damn it. That's what I want to do to Rick. LJ, this is what I better be doing to Rick in the manga. Need to save that? I'm not saving that shit. The doctor after I give him my pee for urine testing. Bro, have you seen this guy, bro? This guy is something else, bro. This guy be fucking demolishing drinks, bro. He's a fucking drink demolisher. Bro, what?
You're just a child. In a mask. Suck these nuts.
Alright, dogs are stupid, man. I'm going through my Discord right now, man. They posted memes in here, and I'm looking at the memes. That's what's going on.
Hold on, something's coming out of here. Look, there's a bird, dude. It knows what's good.
That boy's about to fly out,
I
bro.
just heard it inside.
Head ass. All right. What's next? Gaming clips? There's not no gaming clips in here. Nobody plays the game in here. Oh, there's a Rainbow Six Siege clip from Rick. This is about to be some of the worst Rainbow Six Siege you ever seen in your life. Nope. Rick, you did not just edit a 1v4, bruh. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, come now. Soul brother number 2.
These guys suck. Why?
One now, sun up to sundown, still kicking that shit. Put your
all things come to him who waits. Oh, so you just camp and they all came to you, bruh. Typical copper gameplay.
And walk across the moon bare feet. But don't nobody rhyme like this no more. Call me the 2010 Rakim. I got soul, it's more store. Feel like a CVS open 24. Spent nights trying to overshadow my shadow for niggas trying to block my light like a solar eclipse. I bring a knife to a fist fight, and when I cut a record, so when I
Rick, he just killed himself. Why is this in the feed, Rick? Why is this in the highlight clip? He just killed himself. He just killed himself, Rick. You didn't even do anything.
And when I cut a record, so when I cut the cheese, shit, you know what it is. Mr. Absolutely the most incredible.
He just... This gotta be casual, bro. Why is he just standing there, bro? Why is he just standing there?
So when I cut the cheese, shit, you know what it is. Mr. Absolutely the most incredible this. So what?
Oh my goodness, bro. You just standing in the middle of the doorway, bro. God damn.
Oh, shit.
God damn, boy. They said you having a friendly trip? They said you having a friendly trip?
Oh, shit.
God damn, boy. Said get to boxing. Get to boxing, boy. That motherfucker told you get to boxing ASAP, motherfucker. Alright, videos. Let's see what's in here. Bro, I was playing Nikkei. That boy was distracted. This looks like a meme, LJ. What is this?
Would you eat meat for $1 million?
No, I would not, because I am a vegan and I'm proud to be vegan, and I already have $1 million. So.
You're gay, right?
Yes, I'm gay.
So, would you eat my meat for $1 million? Would you eat?
No, that was funny. That was funny. That was like the first LJ video that was actually funny, but I'm not gonna lie, that was funny. I seen it coming.
Peach, my darling, you'll be plenty comfortable on our wedding night.
Shut up! Listen here, you fat turtle freak. I don't like you. I don't like how you look. I don't like how you smell. You're disgusting. I've seen Goombas with better hygiene than you.
Hey, man.
Zip it.
Don't you like my height? I'm over 6 feet tall.
6 feet of uselessness.
6 feet of uselessness.
Alright, LJ, this one's not it. I'm not fucking with that one. I'm not fucking with that one. But you send a lot of shit from YouTube Shorts. I think I'm gonna go through YouTube Shorts and see if it's any good. What the fuck is this? What do y'all be putting in my Discord, bruh? What the fuck is that? Look, I don't want to find out what's going on here, bruh. I don't want to find out what's going on. Oh, we watched that. What's this? Battle of the Races.
Konnichiwa. I like watermelon. Bing bing chow, bing bing dingy chow. Let me order everything from the KFC menu. Bing 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 dow, bing bing bing.
Okay. Bro, look, one person is just making fake words and the other person is actually saying racial things, bro.
Chill. No, you can't because you just Konnichiwa.
Head ass.
Hey, I'm sitting on a nigga face right now.
Where's my mother? I'm on BT.
Oh, no, bruh.
Hey, I'm riding a nigga face, you heard?
VR chat so stupid, man. What is this? JJK animation somehow got better? Is this a long video?
Hakuya Go.
Alright, we'll watch this. We'll watch this in a second. We'll watch this in a second. I think there's still some more stuff in here. There is not nothing else in here. I lied. Alright, let's watch this video. Jujutsu Kaisen's animation somehow got better.
Who is Hakuya Go? To the lost, he is the guide. To the fallen, he is the light. And to the Jujutsu Kaisen fans, he's the motherfucker who directed this. Yeah, safe to say, he's pretty cracked. But let's go back to the original question. Who is Hakuya Go? Well, Hakuya Go is a webgen animator who has been working in the anime industry for more than a decade now. He started off doing second key animation back in 2013 on Love Life, and has been getting more prominent roles since then. But his career started to really pop off once he got the opportunity to direct an episode in this little unknown series back in 2016 called Boku no Hero Academia.
I like your kanji.
Hakuya Go got to direct the second half of episode 12 involving the All Might vs. Nomu fight. And
Okay.
for his first stint as a director, he did a pretty good job. But him making his directorial debut isn't the only thing to highlight, as this was the episode where the Hakuya Go team was established, with the animators who participated in Go's directed section being the members. But for the sake of simplicity, you honestly don't really need to memorize all of their names, as this cracked list of animators in this team continues to grow as the years go by. So I'll just highlight one of the members who'll play a prominent role later on in this video. That member being Itsuki Tsushigami, or Miso for short. Now, I'm putting emphasis on Miso because him and Hakuya Go are close friends. They've been animating in the same series ever since their rookie days, and also the fact that these two are very important names tied to the production of those Jujutsu Kaisen episodes. But let me not get ahead of myself here, as there's a little more backstory to get through, so let me just yap a little more. So after his debut for MHA, he later on got the opportunity to direct a full-on episode in the Fate franchise. Fate Apocrypha episode 22 was insane. Till this day, if we're just talking about pure animation, it's one of the best televised projects I've ever seen. This episode also foreshadowed an upcoming meta for the anime industry. For a person to be able to direct an episode, they would need some veteran presence to assist them in directing. Hell, unless an animator had 7+ years of experience, they probably wouldn't give the directorial position to a newbie. Hakuya Go looked at that unwritten rule and said, fuck it, let me direct an episode with my buddies and we'll show you a banger. And that episode was indeed a banger. I call this a meta because literally now, half of the animes being pumped out, especially action heavy ones, hire freelancers who barely have industry experience and put them in roles that are literally way beyond them. And they end up getting overworked. But I'll come back to that point later. After Fate Apocrypha episode 22, Hakuya Go then moved on to direct some episodes for Mob Psycho.
Okay, which
season
ones?
2, episode 5. Miso also got the opportunity to direct season 2, episode 11.
Oh, this one? Oh,
And
that makes
Hakuya
a
Go
lot of
returned for
sense.
season 3 once more to direct
That makes a lot of sense.
episode 8. And that episode was really fucking weird. Okay, bye-bye, Mob. Let's move on to the Fate franchise. Again.
Look, I love this anime, so I'm an official fan. I didn't know about you. I didn't know about your existence, but now I'm a fan for life.
Now, Hakuya Go didn't direct an episode for Babylonia, neither did Miso, but their
I take it back.
friends did. The Hakuya Go team participated on episode 8 and 18, then after that the team including Hakuya Go this time participated in the Fate Grand Order Camelot movie. Another Fate project. Jesus Christ. Does this team have a boner for the Fate franchise or something? Because this is like 3 times now and they're not phoning it in either. This is some of the best animations that I've ever seen in my life. And wait, why am I talking about Fate?
They're on Strange Fake. I need that. Look, I only got a year of patience left for Strange Fake, bro. I need Strange Fake in the next 12 months, bro. We gotta make that happen.
Alright. In Fate Grand Order, Absolute Demonic Front Babylonia, more specifically Episode 8, the team got acquainted with a certain individual, an animator by the name of Shota Goshizono, or Goso for short. Shota Goshizono. Now that name seems familiar. Oh! Yes! I can finally talk about... The anime industry is built upon connections. It's just a bunch of people who knows a guy who knows a guy who also knows a guy. What I'm trying to say is
That's how you
that
get a
any
job.
anime who has a director talented in animation and is also well networked with other big name talents is in good hands. Unfortunately for Goso, thanks to his work on not just Fate Grand Order but also on episode 21 of Osama Rankings, an episode that Goso himself directed, he managed to acquaint himself with Miso, as Miso participated in that Goso directed episode. And that's how we got here. Goso is the series director of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, and he managed to string along Miso to direct episode 16. And damn, this episode was fucking good. To the spacious storyboards, great art direction, and the fact that this episode doesn't stop moving. Seriously, the characters are constantly doing something, and if they're not doing anything exciting, Miso's direction elevates whatever it is on screen. Like, there was no reason for this random hallway to look like this. They could have just settled with a still drawing of a hallway, but nope, dynamic 3D background instead. Fun fact, there was a cut concept during the pre-production of this episode that involves Jogo's Ember insects driving a vehicle to ram Sukuna with it. Now, I completely understand why this concept was taken out, as it would have been ridiculous. Like, Jogo's being slapped silly here, Sukuna is mogging him during this one-sided ass beating, meanwhile his bugs are trying to learn how to steer a manual, like, bruh. It would have been funny though. The episode ends strong with Miso animating the debut of Fuga, and the way he animates the flames is unique. Instead of just a normal flame with a different shade of color, it's a flame that's multicolored and looks like one of those stained windows found in churches. A very neat touch. So yeah, after I first watched episode 16, I thought to myself that this was it. This was the peak of season 2. No other episode was going to touch this, let alone surpass it in terms of animation. But wait, what's this? There were some leaks and rumors going around on Twitter saying that episode 17 was somehow going to be better. No way. There's no way that Jujutsu Kaisen are about to go back to back with peak episodes. There's just no way. Episode 16 was perfect. It had Miso's direction. I mean, the only way for the next episode to be better was if Hakuya Go himself directed that episode. And due to Jujutsu Kaisen's shitty production, I highly doubt that season 2 would have the capacity to make another episode of the same caliber, if not better, as 16. There's just no way.
But they did that shit though.
Oh. Well, damn. Yeah, as great as this episode was, even I had realized even during my first watch that most of the episode was unfinished. And the tweets that came out after this episode aired didn't exactly paint a better picture. Now obviously, this episode was definitely more than 30% finished. Let's squash that misinformation right away. But what upsets me was the fact that Hakuya Go didn't realize his full artistic vision for this episode. Go himself tweeted out these unused drawings. Like, bro, come on, man. How are you going to have one of the best talents in the industry come to your show and not even allow him to go all out? That's like the basketball equivalent of drafting Victor Wembanyama to your team, but you then decide to make him the sixth man. Like, shit just doesn't make sense. What made episode 16 great wasn't just because Miso and his friends were attached to that episode, but it was also because episode 16, according to Miso, had the most time to cook compared to the other episodes of the Shibuya arc. Episode 17 didn't have that luxury. And it shows. Why does the episode randomly cut to black in some random action scenes? That's probably because they didn't have the time to animate a scene of Mahoraga breaking apart a building. Where was this Genga of Sukuna throwing hands with Mahoraga? Like, we didn't get to see this. All that was used from this was the last second of Sukuna dropkicking Mahoraga, but in the context of the televised version, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Right after Sukuna slaps away the dismembered arm of Mahoraga, it just suddenly cuts to a scene of Mahoraga getting dropkicked. And unless you slowed down the footage, you probably didn't catch that the first time watching. Where the fuck did this plane come from?
Didn't.
And why is Mahoraga getting ragdolled in the air all of a sudden? Even though the last scene of him shows that he's still on the ground just chucking shit at Sukuna? Pfft, who knows? Who cares? And god, this Fuga scene was clearly unfinished. They didn't even have the time to fully color it in, or in between the keyframes. Ugh, this episode was still good. Despite the clear shortcomings, I still consider this episode to be good. Like, top 5 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen level good. But it still sucks though, cause this unfinished mess ended up being the final product. and the fans will never get to see the true intended vision of this fight. Wait, what? Yeah, that was amazing. Now look, the Blu-rays enhancing the televised version of an anime is pretty common, but most of the time, all they do is just add some touches to the art. So when I saw the fact that some of the animators came back to add or finish some scenes for the Blu-ray version of episode 17, I noted, this is absolutely unprecedented. We actually get some additional context to how Mahoraga got ragdolled in the air. The removal of the dimming and ghosting also helped. Like, I actually got to properly see
Have you
Sukuna
seen the
bashing into
Blu-ray?
airplane.
Yeah, I've seen the Blu-ray.
The added Bahi JD scene with the debris, the smooth background animation, and oh my god, they added the hand-to-hand scene. And it wasn't just Vincent's Genga that was added. What is this sorcery? How do you get this good at animating shit? Waylon Zhang? Waylon motherfucking Zhang? Huh? You don't know who Waylon Zhang is? Well, he's the guy who animated this.
Oh, he's that guy.
He animated this.
Wait, hold on. If he was 16 when he did that Naruto shit, how old was he when he did this? Cause this shit's old.
Oh, and he also animated this.
Did you really call me a traitor? The same as you?
Manabu. Manabu. Manabu! Yeah, no. I want this man hanged by jumper cables. We did this man to be beaten by a bunch of sledgehammers. This is what we should have gone the first time this episode was aired. But nope, Corporal Greed got to this man. Stop pushing out these damn near impossible deadlines. Let these animators cook. Why are you trying to sabotage your own products? Don't you understand that
He don't
creating
care,
a miserable
bruh.
working
He
environment,
wants that money,
you end up
bruh.
deterring others from working for you? There's already a bunch of animators going on Twitter bad-mouthing the studio and saying shit like they're never gonna work there ever again. Hakuya Go tweeted this. Please, Manabu, just slow it down, okay? You already have enough money. I want Goso and the Hakuya Go team to come back for Season 3, as I'm one of the few people who actually prefer the Culling games over the Shibuya incident. Now look, I know that was a selfish request, but I absolutely f***ing adore this series. I want nothing more but for the best for it. And treating the animators with respect would only lead to a win-win situation here. Bro, if the Culling games get the same, if not a better visual treatment than Shibuya, then oh, you bet your ass I'm gonna be one happy boy. Please, God, please, I
Get to
need
coping.
this. Imagine if that Yuta fight was directed by either Hakuya Go or Miso. Oh my fucking God, I just shed a tear just thinking about it. Zeus! Allow Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 to have
Get
a
to
good production
coping.
schedule, and my life is yours.
Pray to God that they give you
They do not care, bruh. That shit is coming out before you know it. Before you know it, that shit's about to be out. Shit's crazy, bro. I don't know why. Look, we all know that, like, if they slow down, if Mappa just slow down, bro, they could go down as one of the greatest. But what they're gonna go down as is just a studio that came out of nowhere, blew the fuck up, and disappeared just as quickly. The way that they keep moving, bro. It is 1,000,000% preventable if they just slow that shit down, bro. If they just slow it down. But they're not gonna do that shit. They let that money get to them, bro. That shit's sad. That shit is sad, bro. I hate to hear it, and I hate to see it. But hopefully, look, maybe that CEO gets a reality check. Hopefully something happens, bro. But I'm not coping because I don't know what's gonna go on. But look, I got hope. I got hope for the future of JJK, hopefully. But yeah, I just want to say, bro, I'm glad that my stream I'm glad that my internet or whatever was going on at the beginning of this fucking stream finally figured itself out. Because if that shit would have went on for 20 more minutes, I would have do something. So I'm glad that shit straightened up. Hopefully this is not a problem that keeps occurring, but I'm glad, I'm glad that I booted up tonight. Look, I actually fuck with the night schedule, so I might start streaming around this time, like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. CST, and just going and doing whatever. I might, I kind of fuck with this schedule. Same time tomorrow. Same time, maybe, possibly. I might come like an hour later, 8 or 9. Look, guaranteed 8 or 9 CST. Alright, I can't give you a specific answer because I don't know what's going to happen. But 8 or 9 CST. And who knows what we're going to be doing. I might be gaming tomorrow, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what videos come out. But as always, I appreciate anybody who came through. Colin, my boys, LJ, I appreciate all y'all, bro. Appreciate the subs, the follows, the time spent. Bro, I appreciate it. But until next time, bro. Y'all know I got nothing but love for y'all, bro. Nothing but love and appreciation. What do I want to go out on today? Some Eve.
転がってく様子を笑った寂しいとか愛とかわかんない人間の形は投げ出したんだ語りきれない言葉だらけの存在証明をこの小さな幕から出ない気づいたら最後に出だしたい僕ら全員演じていたんだエンドロールに向かって行くんださみんな必死に役を演じて傍観者なんていないのさ私なんてないのどこにだっていないよずっと僕は何者にもなれないで僕ら今さっさぐらいやって延長線サレンダーしてメイで弱いやつと垂れ流すことの愛想ドラマチックな展開をどっか期待してんだろう君もイエスケース気を飲んで采配をそこにあんだへっしょ騒ぐもいもその心を散るいたさまだ見ぬ糸を引いた黒幕の魂さその目に映るのは触れたら壊れてしまった間違ってく様子を黙った僕ら全員無垢でありましたいつの間にやら怪物になったんだその全てを肯定しないと前に進めないかいまあ君にはきっと無理なんだだから君にはきっと無理なんだいつの間にやらガヤにいたんだそんなガヤばっかり飛ばしてきたんだみんな必死に自分を守って救いの手を待ってるのさ考えたくはないよバカになっていたいもんずっと僕は何者にもなれないでだから今前線上に立ってその旗は高く待って劣勢頼る相棒言葉すら必要ないよドラマチックな展開はどっとヒットしてきたろう君もイエスケース気を飲んで再会を誓い合ってワンチャンしかない僕の一瞬をかけるのさクライマックスみたいな手に汗を握るのさぽつりと泣いた隠してきた本当はどこにもない笑ってきた奴らに場所はない思い出してポイってして感情はない流した涙理由なんてない優しさに温度も感じられない差し伸べた手に疑いしかない穴が開いてあやたれてしまいになったんだ倒れそうな僕を覗き込んだんだ諦め